increased by a factor of 4 compared to where we were in 2014.
The world of football continues to remember Kevin Keegan, with Les Ferdinand calling for a stand at St James's Park to be renamed in his honour. The club's set to open a condolence book for supporters. Warren Barton told us he would never have signed for Newcastle if it wasn't for Keegan.
What he wanted to do more than anything is to make the people up there proud of their football club. And he did that. And they adored him. They loved him. And him and Sir Bobby Robson are cut from the same cloth they understand the people. They understand what it was about.
Keegan won 2 Ballon d'Ors during a spell at Hamburg and was an icon at both Liverpool and Newcastle. Phil Thompson was at Anfield back in 1971 when Keegan joined.
What Kevin had was unique. That drive, Listen, players don't come along like Kevin Keegan very often. Kevin should be one of those guys who should live forever.
Patron of the FA, the Prince of Wales, says, above all, Kevin will be remembered as a kind and generous man. Elsewhere this lunchtime, Ipswich have signed goalkeeper Kane van Uverlon from Dutch second-tier FC Volendam. He signed a 5-year deal. West Ham are said to be considering selling Crescencio Somerville to Roma. They've bid £40 million. And Arsenal are expected to make another bid for Newcastle captain Bruno Guimaraes. There's plenty more on the live blog at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Down to business. Andy Burnham gathers his reshuffled cabinet as he chairs his first meeting as Prime Minister, and the world's largest lottery launches in the UK. More from Sinead at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 400 EV-ready centres across the UK, we're top of the league for electric car owners. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Dry with sunny spells this afternoon, the warmest of which in the south. Cloudy across Northern Ireland and the north of Scotland with some light showers.
This is Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs back with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT. Where this afternoon, Andy, please tell us what's coming up.
Well, coming up over the next 3 hours, former Liverpool striker Stan Collymore, central to one of Kevin Keegan's most famous games as a manager, joins us to pay tribute to one of his heroes, and broadcaster Jim Rosenthal bringing Keegan and Ferguson together for the first time after Kevin's iconic "I'd Love It" rant.
Indeed, footballer turned actor and comedian Sapphire Mackintosh pops in to shadow a role in the upcoming return of Ted Lasso, as does our fellow Thesp from Bridgerton and Lord of the Rings and other fine work, Arsenal supporting Callum Lynch.
There's all this, plus we'll chat to 2 stars of Major League Baseball in the UK to soak up British sports culture, and the latest from Italy on those pet rumours.
That's right. Will he take the job? Should we jump in first? These are the big questions we'll ask our man in Italy a little bit later on. But it is 4 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon, Paul. I don't know if you've seen that Vinicius Junior has had plastic surgery on his chin.
I only heard it in the bulletin here on talkSPORT earlier on.
Apparently he's a big fan of Jimmy Hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he wanted. He went for that. Really.
Did he have did he feel he had a bit of a weak chin then, Vinicius?
I suppose so.
I hadn't noticed.
I hadn't noticed either. I mean, it's good work. I mean, he seems to have healed quite quickly, because, I mean, how long have Brazil been out of the World Cup? Only about 2 weeks, isn't it?
So what's he had done to it, Andy? Do you know? Has it made it more prominent?
Georgia seems to know, our producer. There's a bit more additional length.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, the picture I've got of him here, he seems to be wearing quite a tall baseball cap as well, so it seems to give him...
Contour, apparently.
Quite a long face. And a long face.
Why the long face?
Yeah, why the long face?
Yeah. It's great, isn't it?
I mean, looking at him before, it's not... I mean, look, it obviously, like a lot of cosmetic surgery, people say, I didn't notice that.
I didn't think you needed it.
Every time he looked in a mirror, he kind of saw he had a weak chin. He wants to be able to say things like, "I'm just off to wee the dog," like Jimmy Hill used to, the great Jimmy Hill. Maybe he'll buy Cov. Maybe he'll run the line in a game when he comes out of the crowd.
Can afford it, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And Pele's 1960 passport went for 10 grand at auction. I was going to buy it, but I didn't think I looked like him. It's out of date.
That's right, your chin's completely the wrong shape. You're not going to get through customs with it, are you?
Not really, no.
Don't they used to cut the ends off, didn't they? Don't you remember?
Yeah, they did.
To cut a bit off of it, didn't they? It's quite a low-tech thing to do.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? You know, you come, or you get your old, they've cut the end off. I'll never get through customs with that. Never become a spy.
I'm absolutely, I shouldn't be because I spent a lot of time in Argentina, but I am fascinated by the way they've reacted to this defeat. They're just, it's as if they won it. There's no shame. There's no feeling of that, they behaved poorly and all this stuff. It's quite amazing. One bloke said that The Guardian went and interviewed a load of people, did a Vox Pops in Buenos Aires. "Oh, we defeated the English. That's what matters." That was one bloke. "It's the first time I felt so proud of my country," added another one. Cynthia Martinez, 28, a housekeeper who could barely hold back tears.
No.
Honestly, really. She was heading to the Obelisco to celebrate anyway. Honestly, it's absolutely...
Did they all get together in the centre of town? It's a bit like Nelson's column, isn't it, the Obelisk in the centre of Buenos Aires? So that's where people head to celebrate.
Yeah, they were, yeah. And honestly, I mean, it doesn't seem to matter about the way they played. It's quite... We're not Argentine, but you played very well. A Brazilian woman said, "I'm very proud." I don't know what you're proud about. "Thank you. You've made the people happy. Love is paid with love." I mean, this is Christian Romero. It's absolutely mad, isn't it? They'll never change if they can't see what they did was so wrong, which they don't. How will they ever change? I
saw a post online today from a guy called Cesar A. Hidalgo. He is professor at Toulouse School of Economics and director of the Centre for Collective Learning. I take it it's from that part of the world. It's a bit long, and it's worth checking out. But he says Argentina's behavioural crisis in the World Cup final has brought to light traits many of us in Latin America have internalised and we need to come to terms with. In many countries, emotional self-control and the ability to admit mistakes are seen as virtues. A behavioural problem in parts of Latin America is that our social circles where the opposite is often celebrated. This is the idea that someone who remains in control of their emotions is a coward or, depending on the situation, a traitor. If someone offends you, your family, your team, the reaction that is celebrated in these circles is not restraint, but by flipping the table. The more berserk you go, the more you show that you care. The more that is a harmful value to hold, and also one that many of us once shared. I think he's from Chile. He talks about that. He says the second trait is an unwillingness to admit mistakes. Are you listening, Thomas?
Absolutely.
He's not from there. You can always find an excuse, move the goalposts, or once again start a fight instead of publicly accepting that you've made a mistake. Admitting fault is a sign of weakness. Defending a losing position is a symbol of courage, or in sports, a test of loyalty. So that's he says that's an insight into the psyche and the belief system.
But I mean, Messi, there's a shot of him when Fernandes gets sent off.
Yeah,
there's a shot in the background of Tagliafico. He just goes down for no reason, and then Messi runs over to the ref and starts pointing at him.
You sent me the clip. They clearly look at the tackle and they know it's a second yellow at the very least.
Oh, as soon as the tackle's made, the two of them got their head in their hands. They know exactly.
And Tagliafico just falls on the floor. On the off chance that VAR might spot something that didn't happen that caused him to get injured. But that's your first port of call, as you know, is to think, well, if I lie on the floor now, I might get away with it.
And Messi trying to get the referee to look at it and then trying to get Cucurella sent off. He's really not done himself any favours.
And Cucurella apparently was saying to Messi, why are you playing like this? I mean, I think if Cucurella's played against so many of these players in the past, and they're good footballers. They're great footballers. Yeah. And they proved in that last 20 minutes against England, when they put their mind to playing football, just how fantastic and effective they are. And their spirit's amazing.
They didn't do this in 2022, as far as I'm concerned.
They did it in 1990.
It's part of their history, but they
pretty
didn't
ugly
do it
on the way
in 2022.
To that. And that was a terrible final as well, where everybody was rooting for Germany to win.
Absolutely.
So, there we are. Anyway, we hope to have a chat with Tim, but Tim Vickery doing a sea of TV over in Brazil today, but I'm sure we'll catch up with him later in the week. We've got a couple of actors coming in to see us today. Callum Lynch from a great acting dynasty, he's a big Arsenal fan, and Sapphire McIntosh, who's going to be in the new Ted Lasso, which is built around the world of women's football. She's an footballer turned actor and comedian. So she's going to pop in and see us. And of course, after the Scotland and England fans got right into the baseball, the Scotland fans marched on Fenway, didn't they, and took it over. England fans went and watched Atlanta Braves while they were there. We've got a couple of people from the world of Major League Baseball. They're over here kind of being exposed to British fan culture, not just football, but cricket and other sports as well, for a forthcoming show they're doing around Major League Baseball. So we'll be chatting to them a little bit later on. If you want to get in touch on anything this afternoon, talksport.com/H&J. You can text to 81089 or you can tweet to TSH&J. I think we're at pains to say that, I mean, you've spent a lot of time there. I've spent a couple of weeks there. And the people are just not like that. It's just not... They're not those kind of lads. It's not that sort of country. And, you know, people you think, well, I couldn't possibly go there because of all the Malvinas backdrop and everything I've seen of their football. You couldn't be further from the truth.
No, it's really strange.
It's a great place. It's just something about them on a football field that seems to change.
And rugby, by the look of it.
And rugby, yeah, because there was some proper S-housery going on there, even down to the Hand of God kits that they decided to wear. Yeah. So, we look forward to hearing from you this afternoon. Lots and lots to get through. Stan Collymore is going to join us. It was really sad to bring you that news yesterday afternoon, the death of Kevin Keegan. And I think the outpouring of emotion since tells you how he was viewed as not just a footballer, but as a man as well. And things I'd forgotten about his career that I've read in the last 12, 15 hours.
There's been some wonderful tributes.
And clubs he was at, and the impact he had on clubs at different times when he worked there. It is an amazing story. Stan Collymore is going to join us. Of course, Stan was front and centre of one of Kevin Keegan's most infamous games as a manager, the 4-3. They said the best game of the Premier League era.
Yeah.
And Jim Rosenthal is going to join us as well. Jim brought Kevin and Alex Ferguson together for the first time after Kevin's I'd Love It rant, when it was all going slightly pear-shaped towards the end of that season for Newcastle. So we'll be chatting to Jim about that. Was around Euro 96, I believe he did that. He'll tell us more a little bit later on. Plus, we're in Italy for the latest on those Pep rumours. Do they honestly think they can land a former City boss and get him to be their international coach? How close are they? And we'll have some other stories from over there as well. So stick around. There's lots to come between now and 4 o'clock. As always, though, we are here with Tool Station, the Tool Station Trade Club. You get 10% off all electrical and lighting products when you buy cable and flexes. First up, Tool Station.
.5 was how long half-time was. That's a disgrace in and of itself. We know that. We know it's a load of tosh. But if you're going to make football showbiz, at least do it well. They started with a clearly pre-recorded Madonna song.
Oh, yeah.
I know. It was like Mario Kart Double Dash with Ronaldo just sat there smiling. And they've had Justin Bieber playing a song nobody knows with a guitar that's not tuned properly. And then, I mean, we don't mind a bit of Shakira, really, but Shakira was the only highlight. But we could have had that in a 15-minute
decent. Although Burna Boy was trying to get a bit too close, you know what I mean? He's trying to get a wine. He's only
and also the irony of having the Muppets there, puppets there.
Oh, what was that about?
In Gianni Infantino's World Cup half-time.
They've overdone it, haven't they?
It was shocking, absolutely shocking. The whole Spain saved it.
Yeah.
Because it was a dark day for football until Ferran Torres, the absolute beauty, came up.
And let's talk about. Hold on. We've got to talk about at the end when they're lifting up the trophy. What's Donald Trump? What's Donald Trump doing? Like, he's trying to get a photo up again. He tried to do it with Chelsea, like in the Club World Cup. Now he's trying to do it at the World Cup trying to be. Listen, and then Infantino, whatever his name is, Gianni, yeah, he's there scrambling across with his white trainers and suit on, yeah, with his white train, unforgivable clubber, yeah, you can't be.
To me, he's one of the greatest ever Liverpool players.
He has given English football some of its finest moments with Liverpool, with Newcastle.
European Cup has come back to Britain and has come to Liverpool.
I just loved him. And I'm really sad that he's gone.
Kevin Keegan scores and his career on Tyneside turns full circle.
For the city of Newcastle, for the people. They've waited a long, long time and they're the best, there's no doubt about that.
You feel empty because he was such a fantastic, fantastic guy.
The biggest superstar in our dressing room, and we had some top players in that era, was our manager.
And he gave them a brilliant football team that played some great football.
And he lifted us out of the doldrums.
With Philippe Albert.
Change your TV on to watch Newcastle. They were that good.
He is a German icon, every bit as much as he is a British icon.
Two-time European Player of the Year.
I played football up till Christmas that even I couldn't believe.
The whole career was characterised by that honesty and passion.
I'll tell you, honestly, I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
So privileged to have had an incredible footballer, a great human being and a wonderful manager.
You know, Kevin Keegan has given it his best shot.
So many iconic moments in and out of football that Kevin Keegan gave us, from I'd Love It, and even, you know, going back to things like Superstars and other work as well. He was a huge figure in football and beyond for many, many years. One of his, I mean, he mentions there in that package, we played football up until the Christmas. I couldn't believe it. After Christmas, though, things went wrong for his brilliant swashbuckling Newcastle side and results weren't going that way. And Manchester United were making up ground, as we're all aware. And, of course, they played Liverpool in that run of games. And there's a certain generation of football fans who hear the Martin Tyler say, Collymore closing in. And we can all see it in our mind's eye.
Yeah, and Kevin's reaction to the goal.
Joining us now is the man himself, Stan Collymore. Hi, Stan.
Paul, Andy, how are you?
Good, thanks. I mean, I'm sure you encountered Kevin along the way. Did he ever have a bit of a laugh with you about that goal and that game?
Yeah, I saw him several times after it. Martin Tyler as well at World Cups, actually in talkSPORT for Faustino Asprilla as well. But it's strange because my often with sort of the sadness of sort of obituaries and talking about people that have passed, and particularly people that have left such a sort of impact on your life, is that my story with Kevin Keegan goes back to Patrick Keegan kid football boots in the early 80s.
Right.
And Superstars, as he I watched a clip of him about half an hour ago, and he said, it's funny, he said, because for all the Ballon d'Ors and the winning the league and winning the European Cups, etc., that people, he says, remember about me hair falling off the bike on Superstars.
True.
and you know the rant, the sort of I'd love it if we beat them. But for me, I remember him in Superstars. I remember him singing pop songs. I remember him as the face of This Time, the England World Cup 1982 song. More than one great home nations victory against the Scots or against the Welsh or against Northern Ireland. Keegan was the poster boy of our generation. I'm 55, so 20 years older than me. So then to come into his orbit for the first time at Southend United, things were starting to happen for me. I'd gone from Crystal Palace, where I was a bit part winger, and I go to Southend United as a forward. And the team to beat in the Championship that season was Kevin Keegan's Newcastle United. Everybody knew that they scored loads of goals. Everybody knew they had players like Peter Beardsley and Andy Cole that were scoring shed loads of goals. And I got a penalty, and we drew 1-1 at Roots Hall. And for me, that was a little waypost in, if you can do well against these, you can do well against anybody. And then obviously the 4-3 Newcastle game was incredible, and he was sort of draped over the advertising boarding when I scored the winning goal in the last couple of seconds. But the good grace, and we're talking about Argentina and kicking off and the sort of geopolitical consequences, and is it part of Argentine culture, etc., which we may touch upon, is that Kevin Keegan's post-match comments, Paul and Andy, were, I bet everybody that paid to come in and watch that at home really enjoyed that. He wasn't bitter. He wasn't angry. He didn't flip his lid. He gave hearty congratulations to the Liverpool team that won the game on the night. He rightly said we're still in a title challenge, and that did boil over a little bit with the week later because of words that Sir Alex Ferguson had attributed to Stuart Pearce, and so he was angry about that. But a hero as a child, a hero as a player, a great manager, you know, that took Newcastle United back to where they belong, and Manchester City as well. Had the absolute self-awareness to walk in post an England defeat and say, do you know what? I'm not quite good enough for this. I'm going to leave it to somebody else. I've done my very best. I love the players. I love the staff, but I might just not be good enough. Is that I think that all of the tributes are deserved. And I hope for a younger generation, they'll have seen Real Madrid, for example, post yesterday about their condolences. Bayern Munich, some of the big football associations. That's how big and that's how permeating Kevin Keegan was for several generations of football fans.
Give us a striker's appreciation of him as a player, Stan. What did he do well for those? Because quite a lot of our listeners probably never saw him in his pomp or never saw him play.
Yeah, I mean, for Liverpool, he played off John Toshak, so it was a classic big and a little un. And I think the thing about him that I noticed compared to other players was his athleticism. He had quite an incredible engine, so he was quick without being, you know, Jed Spence quick. He had a good touch, but it wasn't quite Kenny Dalglish. He was a great finisher, but he wasn't a 30, 35 goal a season man. He had a bit of everything. That by his own admission, I mean, I've just got in front of me, just indulge me for a second, the Ballon d'Or, he won 2 years on the bounce, which is more difficult enough in itself. But he won 87 votes. Just have that number in your head, 87 votes to finish first. The other players that were in that list that youngsters can go and Google and look at, Hans Krankel, Robbie Rosenbrink, Roberto Bettiger, Paolo Rossi, Rudy Kroll, Kenny Dalglish, Peter Shilton, Ari Hahn, Rennie van der Kerkhoff, and at the bottom, the 15th that got 4 votes was Johan Cruyff.
Wow.
So to give you an idea, Kevin Keegan, the journalists around Europe gave Kevin Keegan 87 votes and Johan Cruyff 4. And he won it the next year. He beat Karl-Heinz Rummenigge and Rudy Kroll and Manny Kaltz and Michel Platini and Paolo Rossi. He was in front of all-time greats in their country, all-time greats in the FIFA 100 list. So he brought this, to answer your question straight, Paul and Andy, he brought probably a 4 or a 5 or a 6 out of 10 ability by his own admission compared to those guys. and he made it a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 consistent threat as a goal scorer, consistent threat as an assist maker, consistent by playing lots of games, consistent by being a match winner. And we don't see it very often these days because we see Diego Maradona, we see Lionel Messi, we see Cristiano Ronaldo, and we see players that are born with the gifts from the gods, and the hard work keeps them at the top of the game for a generation. He wasn't born with the gifts from the gods in the traditional way, the touch, the little deft touches here and there. But the gifts that he had was of hard work, discipline, understanding where he was in the food chain. He never was a man that was beyond his station in terms of as a manager, as a coach, or as a player. And I think that humility plus that discipline and hard work that he'd learned from his father that worked down the pit, I think up in Newcastle, I think just made him a guy that it didn't matter whether you were Scottish or Northern Irish or Welsh. You know, loads. Diego Maradona had the greatest words to say about him. As I said, Real Madrid last night posted a long tribute to him. So from his technical ability wasn't that of some of the greats, which is why he probably in 30, 40, 50 years' time won't get talked about in the same way as some of, David Beckham, for example, or the enduring legacy of Bobby Charlton or Bobby Moore. But he epitomised hard work, he epitomised understanding who he was, and he epitomised that if I can eke out every drop of what I've got from myself, I may just make it in this game. And boy, did he make it.
Yeah. Well said, Stan.
Thanks, Stan.
Stan's going to stick around. We're going to talk England, and later on Jim Rosenthal's going to join us as well. It was Jim that a few weeks after the infamous I'd Love It rant, he brought Alex Ferguson and Kevin Keegan back together around and just had a bit of a chat and got them to kiss and make up, and I think they did. So anyway, we'll play that and we'll chat to Jim of his memories of Kevin, and he worked, of course, for ITV, didn't he, as a co-commentator and as a pundit. So Jim joins us later. But Stan is going to talk England and Argentina and the World Cup as a whole after the news headlines.
You said we should respect Argentina as the holders. Do you still respect them after their performance in the final?
Why do you, Alex?
Well, they played like a bunch of thugs. Even
Alex,
the scenes at full time, they were laying punches on celebrating Spanish.
Yeah, of course. I don't like that. Of course, that is what they do. They leave a bit on everybody. And then, of course, at the end, maybe their true mentality comes through and you see them as people.
Look at that picture on the screen now for those watching on YouTube. Is that what you want to see at the end of a World Cup final?
No, Paredes, I simply don't. What I would like to see is, look, if I'm honest, I wanted to see Messi do something in that game. I think the Spanish, though, throughout have been magnificent. I think they only conceded one goal throughout the whole tournament. They proved they kill you with 1,000 cuts. Their passing's magnificent. Rodri's, whether he's the player of the tournament, it's certainly been a magnificent turnaround from him, from Man City. But, look, they'll have to take a good look at themselves. I think the referee was doing the best he possibly could in difficult circumstances.
Because he could have got the yellow card out a lot earlier, but that would have in itself ruined the game, wouldn't it, if he started chucking out bookings?
Well, why didn't he do that? I think he could have made...
he was trying to manage the game. I think he knew that inevitably an Argentinian player
they were getting away, but they were getting away with this against England and nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And... you reflect on that. Look, they once they stopped being physical against England and decided to play some football, we couldn't live with them. We have to accept that, but we need to build on it. And that's what will happen now. We'll go away. Manager will learn from it. I think really, in the teams that I've played in, playing under Arsene Wenger particularly was helped me to be free in my mind that you attack. That's the best form of defence. Is it an English thing to say that, it's in our DNA that we want to sit off, we don't want to attack? He did say this when he took the job. I think that's
The German leading England. It all sounds a little bit odd, but as Thomas Tuchel tries to bring football home, here's how he ended up in one of the most scrutinised jobs in sport. Well, Tuchel started his footballing journey in the sleepy town of Krimbach. His leadership skills were obvious from an early age, with Tuchel even making subs during PE volleyball sessions. After a knee injury ended his playing career at the age of 25, Tuchel accepted his first coaching role in the Stuttgart U setup in 2000. He led the club's under-19s to their league title 5 years later, but his perceived abrasive personality meant Stuttgart chose not to renew his contract. He went on to spend 5 years at the helm at Mainz before leaving the club for Dortmund. And there, Tuchel secured his first major trophy, the German Cup, in 2017. 8 more pieces of silverware came next for Tuchel in just 5 seasons at PSG, Chelsea and Bayern Munich. And that CV impressed the top brass at the FA.
We found so many similarities and so many things that suited my approach and my hunger to achieve special things. I always wanted to come back to England.
Well, he says all the right things, but is destiny on Tuchel's side?
$292.2 million to 1 if you fancy having a go at Powerball.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's got to win it, Andy, haven't they?
Well, I suppose so. It seems unlikely to be either you or
I'd love your show after you've won it and your particular scorched earth approach to who you're going to take out. But that would be very, yeah. Anyway, Stan Collymore's with us. Time to reflect on the World Cup. Not the final we all wanted, Stan, really, or that the tournament deserved. What did you make of Argentina's antics? Probably not surprised.
No, I mean, and I have to sort of detach it from, I know Andy goes to Argentina a lot, and I've always picked his brain over the years about places to go and what to do. I went there 5 or 6 years ago. Went to River Plate's training ground to watch them train, spoke to the manager Gallardo, then interviewed Antonio Ratan that passed away fairly recently, of course, that got sent off at Wembley against England in 1966. Went to a San Lorenzo game, derby game against Boca Juniors. Went to La Bombonera, tangoed in La Boca, etc., etc. The people of Argentina are like the people of Britain, sane, sensible, hardworking, want to get on with life. But I think that it's interesting, actually, and I think that I completely concur with some of the people that have talked about, you know, there is a virulent strain of Englishness that over the years, hooliganism in the 70s and 80s that spilt, and people still now, when I follow Aston Villa, for example, Paul and Andy, on away days in Europe, as a fan now, there's still quite some heavy-handed policing. Bear in mind, these people, you know, the English travel abroad now barely create any issues whatsoever. So it's very easy to create a reputation and very difficult to get rid of. And I think that since Maradona and the sort of winning World Cups, and this was a vehicle to view Argentinian nationalism through that prism, I think that they have like the English in the 80s and beyond. I think there's a virulent strain of Argentinian footballer and fan that go way too far, and I think that deals with that aspect. In terms of on the pitch, I think that when you're a professional footballer and you're having to chase around in 85, 90-degree heat for large chunks of the game, and you are that kind of emotional player on that kind of emotional journey that Argentina had been on. If you saw the anthem, it was the classic sort of Brazil against Germany in the Maracanã. And again, I was there for talkSPORT commentating on the game. all of the Brazilians were crying and singing the national anthem. The Germans were just very calm. Let's play the game, not the occasion. And I think that Spain did that, kept the ball for long periods, had players that were emotionally very charged to try and get Leo over the line for a second World Cup, chasing around for the ball, which made it even more frustrating. And those frustrations boiled over at the end. But, you know, I think that the one lesson for us from an English perspective is that we need to keep the ball better under pressure, and that the teams that do that, Spain are now European and world champions, possession is 9/10 of the law. And if we can take that into a Euros with the players that we've got, we'll be competitive. If we don't do it in a Euros at home, where the expectation will crack up another notch, is that a Spain or a France will add another European star to their haul. But overall, I just think that Argentina and their antics came about on the day because they just couldn't get the ball back enough, long enough from a Spanish team that will absolutely put a chokehold on you and say, run around for 6 minutes at a time without seeing the ball and see how you like that. And that's how it transpired.
I mean, we talk about them not admitting what they did was bad. What do you make of Tuchel not really admitting that it was his fault, not even thinking it's his fault?
Yeah, I think he's that kind of manager, Andy, when we spoke the other day, and I think that he will go away, and I think that he's a clever enough man and a clever enough manager to learn from his mistakes. I think that the bombast and the bravado of a professional football manager or a professional football player is a part of the personality often of who they are. But also the other part, you know, I was reading a lot of comments today from Argentinian news and from players and managers. Diego Simeone, that of course, you know, knows all about Argentinian football culture, and he said, "Look, we've gone over the top, and we need to learn from this if we're going to win it next time." And I think that for Thomas Tuchel, he's going to be under major pressure. Let's not forget we've got a tough Nations League group coming up. That is Croatia again, that is Czechia, will be difficult-ish, particularly in Prague, and Spain, a double-header, which we will be judged by, the world and European champions, and we should be judged by. Now, then we've got a qualification process. I don't know whether anybody knows, but it's not an automatic given that the four home nations, England, Scotland, Wales, and the Republic of Ireland don't automatically qualify for Euro 28. They go through a qualification process, and UEFA have put 2 slots aside in case the best 2 out of that. If all 4 didn't qualify, the best 2 in qualification would qualify, if that makes sense. So for England, there's going to be a lot on the Nations League, because we're back at the top table, and there will be a lot put on him in terms of how we qualify and learn from mistakes. And then, of course, we've got, you know, a Euros, which will be on our shores, of which we will have to be one of the favourites by virtue of the fact of our placing at the World Cup. So unless he does learn his mistakes, Andy, which I think his ball retention, I think some of his substitutions at times were off. I think that he got a little bit too much into hey, we defended like lions, the Lions of the Azteca for 30 minutes. Let's do exactly the same against Argentina, as opposed to being a little bit more adventurous. But I think he needs to be a little less bombastic, a little less combative. I think he'll do that in the current FA setup. The media people and the whole setup now is a lot more user-friendly. So I think that they'll look and learn from the mistakes of his messaging. And I think that hopefully, you know, he will learn as a coach, because there's absolutely no doubt he proved it with your club. He's an elite level coach. Players talk about him and say, some of his stuff that he's talked to us about and in some of his sessions, I haven't heard before, I haven't known before, and I've learned that, and he makes a really good point. So the coaching ability is there, the coach is there. I just think that particularly with the British press, particularly with the English press, ahead of a tricky Nations League group and a Euros on home soil, for want of a better phrase, is that his messaging's got to be a bit better.
Did you take anything positive going forward from the third place game, Stan?
Yes, I mean, I was involved in the Englishman, the sole Englishman in the room against the Pax Celtica of the Welsh and the Scots wearing, you know, freshly in their Argentinian or Norwegian shirts. And it got to me, and I was rattled by it, because I'm like, they're like, it doesn't mean anything, third place. Now, I know we all watch it and say, well, in the history of football, it's about winning. And yeah, you get the runners-up get a little bit of a round of applause. Third place doesn't really mean anything. But we were ranked 4th and we finished 3rd. And that's a step forward. I don't care about the medal and standing on and getting the participation medal, etc., etc. We were ranked 4th in this tournament and we finished 3rd. That's a step forward that absolutely all of those players in the dressing room will take. And hopefully it's a step forward to then, based on lots of semi-finals and finals in recent years, 2nd and then 1st. There are very few teams that a manager comes in and takes them from being also runs for 40, 50 years to winning everything. Gareth laid the foundations. Thomas Tuchel is adding his little bits. And I genuinely, honestly believe, for the first time probably ever as an England fan, that in my near lifetime, in the next 10 years, that England will win a major piece of silverware, whether it be the Euros or whether it be the World Cup.
That'd be nice.
You talked about that ball retention, and the point was made that there are players that can do that, like Foden and Palmer. He just chose not to take them. They didn't look, in fairness to him, they didn't have their best seasons. But
Gibbs-White had a good season.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, do you see players... he can't be so bullish that he will turn his back on players like that if that's what he needs to do, you would hope.
No, I've just got a list of players that have been recently capped and their ages. Lewis Hall, 21, Miles Lewis-Skelly, 19, Kobe Mainu didn't play a minute, of course. Ethan Nwaneri, 19, Josh King had a cap at 22, Alex Scott, 22, talk of Chelsea being interesting today. I love him. Cole Palmer's only 24 at the next Euros, do the maths, 26. Coming into real seniority at the next World Cup, Adam Wharton, 22, Morgan Gibbs-White, 26. Coming into his peak at age 28 for Euros. Rio Ingamoa, saw him in the last friendly.
Yeah.
It was absolutely superb in the friendly in Orlando. And okay, he was there to travel. He was there like when I was in England squads. Rio Ferdinand and Frank Lampard were the two youngsters that travelled. They didn't have a bad England career. So the talent is there. And I think that he's a little bit stubborn. You can see the way that he dealt with Jude Bellingham, for example, and you could argue that Jude responded to that criticism. And I think that Phil's 26. He's not going to realistically hit his peak for another 2 years. And he's almost completed football. So if you get a reaction from Cole Palmer, if you get a reaction from Phil Foden, if you're looking at players like Alex Scott and Adam Wharton can add to the likes of Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice and Elliot Anderson, is then, yes, we've got a squad depth and we've got a process in St George's Park and the academies in the Premier League that are producing the talent. I just hope he's not bloody minded enough, not look at all of those players and go, you know what? Whether it be Nations League or whether it be qualifiers, I'm going to give them all a go. I'm going to give them all a fair shake. And out of that, I'm going to see which is the next iteration, which is the next evolution of this England team. Because there will be changes, because there'll be players that drop out because of age, players that drop out because of form. But make no bones about it. The England national setup, St George's Park, Premier League academies, players winning under-17s and under-20s World Cups and doing well with the 21s has to, at some point, come with a tangible benefit and tangible reward. And I honestly, chaps, to use a Kevin Keeganism, I would love it if we gave it to the Scots, the Welsh and the Irish at the Euros. And one day we will absolutely win a World Cup again, because like Clairefontaine and the French, like Soccer City and the Spanish, their systems had a lag when they first implemented them to mean that it was going to be 5, 10, 15 years before they won anything. And it's going to be exactly the same with England. I'm absolutely sure of that.
Seems a good place to leave
I'd throw in Max Stellman as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Stan, always a pleasure. We'll catch up with you as we home in on the season. All the best. Thanks very much.
All the best to you.
Here we are. There's Stan Collymore there in that first section, reflecting on his memories of Kevin Keegan. As we said, Jim Rosenthal joining us later on, recalling when he brought Alex Ferguson and Kevin Keegan back together after the I'd Love It rant around Euro 96. But we're going to talk a bit of cycling next in the midst of all the football and everything else that's been going on. We've not really talked about the Tour de France, but a very interesting story from the Tour has emerged in the last couple of days. And Daniel Freed, the broadcaster, journalist and author from the world of cycling, is going to join us and tell us more in a few moments' time. We're here with Tool Station. First stop, Tool Station.
I've got to get your opinion because Wayne Rooney delivered quite a withering assessment of it on TV last night. That halftime show, 27 minutes. Now, first of all, from a player's perspective, you're playing in a World Cup final. You're used to 15-minute halftime, particularly as you mentioned, the veteran stage of your career. Lionel Messi, for example, when maybe your joint sees up a little bit more than they would do normally. Yeah. Is it fair on the players to have to wait 27 minutes so we can see a pre-recorded song by Madonna, we can see Shakira come out and mime, and we can see Justin Bieber come out and suck the life out of the entire stadium?
Do you know, like FIFA, to stay true to the values of the game, if it's a 15-minute break in all the other World Cups, it should be a 15-minute break in this one. That's where they've gone too far. The water break as well will be thrown out. It's an Americanized, World Cup.
It was to sell adverts.
Yeah. Well, I don't care what it was for, but it was changing the momentum of games. It was giving managers an opportunity to stitch in information at vital times in the game. Now, look, I put myself in the mind of the players. And when are we listening to the halftime team talk? Are we going straight in to listen to the manager? When it's a rousing team talk, we've got to wait 20 minutes before we then, he actually gets into it.
The subs can't even go and warm up on the pitch because it's covered with
you can't warm up. What are we doing? How are we keeping those muscles and minds, turning over for half an hour? It is something they would have in the biggest game of their lives, by the way. Look, as a person who watched it, the game started late, so I nipped out to the local pub and I didn't miss the start. That was great. I had my dinner during the halftime break, so it was fantastic for the fan, but it doesn't help the competitors, and it should never happen again.
Rooney was right, wasn't he? It was crap.
Oh, correct. Absolutely. We're not ready for that. If we want to go to a show, we'll do it on another night.
A little bit later on in the show, we'll be crossing to Italy to find out whether there is anything in these Pep for the national team job. It seems that they're trying to persuade him. Paolo Maldini, one of the greats, is now the technical director and thinks he might have a chance. And Sapphire McIntosh, former footballer turned comedian and actor, will be in the new Ted Lasso. She's going to pop in and see us a little bit later on. But as we said, with everything that's been going on in the world of football and beyond, we've not really talked about the Tour de France. You may have seen one of the stars of the event, the two-time winner, Jonas Vingegaard, go out of the Tour the other day after a crash. There's all sorts of reasons why that would have happened, but one thing that could have fed into it, in the eyes of many, is drug testers knocking on his door at 2 a.m. and affecting his sleep. We thought we'd explore this a little bit more and find out why they're sort of popping up in the night to test the riders with Daniel Freeb, the author, journalist, and from the Cycling Podcast. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, chaps.
You're on the tour at the moment, watching it all unfold. What's been the mood then amongst the teams and the riders about this, and how much you think did that sort of break in his sleep, that interruption in his sleep, because he said he didn't really get off after that? How much do you think it might have fed into the accident?
Well, mixed feelings, I suppose, here, because on the one hand, obviously, most people are familiar with the inglorious history, shall we say, recent history of the Tour de France, although there haven't been a lot of big scandals and controversies, it has to be said, in the last 10, 12 years or so. But so people recognise that dope testing has to take place, and they also recognise that this is a very effective time to do it. Among the suspicions that do still exist are those that riders may be doing things late at night in such a way to reduce the window of detection of certain products. So testing them in the middle of the night, certainly before a big mountain stage, it was probably the biggest mountain stage of the race on Sunday, that could have been effective. And on the other hand, the riders are obviously aggrieved on behalf of their colleagues, Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogacar. We think there were other riders tested, but certainly these are the ones who have been named and the teams have confirmed it. Their colleagues are aggrieved at this sort of invasion of their privacy, effectively, an invasion of their sleep, more specifically, as I said, on the night before a very important mountain stage. And as you mentioned, the next day, Jonas Vingegaard happened to crash out of the Tour de France. And it's pure speculation, but we know, every one of us, you don't need to be a professional cyclist to know that sleep deprivation can impair concentration, fine motor skills, and so on and so forth. But that is the realm of speculation.
Pogacar said, didn't he, before that, he said there's been a very different approach from the drug testers recently. I mean, they had some kind of tip-off. Is that the thing? Why have they changed the hours that they are tending to approach these guys?
Well, this is where it gets interesting, because in France there is a law which states that these tests can take place outside of the normal window. So ordinarily, riders on Tour de France would not be tested between the hours of 11 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. However, under special circumstances, there is a sort of text in French law which says that if there are serious, and I think the wording is a bit clunky, but concordant evidence, so evidence sort of all pointing in one direction, or a risk of the evidence disappearing, the evidence in this case would be the substance in a sample might disappear because it would sort of degrade, then in those circumstances, tests can be carried out. And apparently, we believe authorization was sought and granted from a Parisian judge for these tests to take place. Now, as I said, we don't know. I mean, this all, we found out about this because of a leak to a newspaper, Le Parisien. We don't know if other riders or how many other riders were tested in this fashion. Since Sunday, there have been a whole raft of tests, but again, those have been sort of just inside the normally permitted window, so late at night, but not after 11 o'clock, just before 11 o'clock.
Yeah, because it must affect, sleep testing young fit. It's not like testing us. We'd be up already.
No, that's probably true. You'd be having your prostate interruptions end, wouldn't you, at that stage? The other thing is, I mean, I think kind of if I was Vingegaard and Pogacar and some of the others that have been tested and have been mentioned as being tested, I want to know the level of coverage, because potentially it's reputationally damaging, isn't it, for those guys? If you're just singling out people individually, half a dozen riders, then what is that saying?
It certainly is, and it becomes damaging because we found out about it. Obviously, ordinarily, the testing agency, the International Testing Agency, would not communicate about these tests. We found out about it from a newspaper. And we know that over the last, I mentioned that sort of time period of the last 10 and maybe 15 years, that there has been a general impression that the Tour de France has really cleaned up its act, and there's been a big cultural change in professional cycling. But we also know at the same time the doping authorities have based their testing strategies much more on intelligence. So they will do things like interview former riders and ask for tip-offs, ask for information. And, how good that information, that intelligence they're fed is, we don't really know. We don't really know how well informed. The judge, in this case, the Parisian judge who supposedly granted this permission, is he wanting them to be tested purely because people on social media are saying they're going too fast? Or is he asking for tests because someone's seen a sort of shady character go into the hotel, or because their urine and blood samples over the last few days have looked slightly suspicious? That we do not know, and we're not likely to find out.
And whether it's related to drugs or not, or the testing or not, it's interesting. The Times they analysed crashes in the Tour de France over the last 6 years. I don't know if you've seen this today. They said only about 26% of crashes occurred because of riders' mistakes or racing incidents such as clipped wheels. Most of it is kind of road furniture, or it's traffic infrastructure, narrow streets.
People reaching out, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you were head of health and safety of the Tour de France and you were given a blank canvas to start again, it probably would be a very different race. But that to its detriment, I guess. But still, it's how do you look at the crashes and the level of crashes, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a feeling and a sort of fear that the direction this sport is going in is maybe towards having races on closed circuits, maybe even motor racing circuits, which doesn't make for a great spectacle at all. But road furniture in particular is a real problem. It's something that the Tour de France organisers, we speak to them all the time, and it's something that they underline every year, that it gets harder and harder to take the race as the race grows as well. And I mentioned that the sort of lack of controversy over the last few years. One result of that is that this event is in rude health in terms of the number of people at the roadside, and it's getting big. It's getting bigger and bigger, and that makes things more complicated as well. It's harder and harder to take the race into city centres. The starts of stages are often in huge sort of car parks on the outside of towns, not very picturesque, but it's all in an effort to make this race logistically possible, logistically feasible, which is more and more of a challenge.
Daniel, good stuff. We'll let you get back to work and watch the racing. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Daniel Freed there, author, journalist, and part of the cycling podcast out there in France for the Tour de France.
I hadn't realised all that, actually.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I mean, the testing thing's interesting, isn't it? They've sort of upped the irregular hours of testing. So we should keep an eye on that. Still to come then, you probably saw over at the World Cup the England and Scotland fans going along to the baseball, and the baseball audience, and indeed the players and the broadcasters, seeing a very different sort of fan culture, the football fan culture. And now two people front and centre of Major League Baseball, broadcaster and former player, coming over here ahead of some coverage of Major League Baseball in this country to soak up a British fan culture, to try it out and get a feel for it, not just at football but at cricket and other sports as well. We'll have two of them with us in the studio in the next hour, but we'll get these sports headlines next.
Let's talk Morgan Rogers. Obviously, Middlesbrough will be quite happy as well, Crookie.
Yeah, I think they get 15 million quid there or thereabouts from their sell-on.
Yeah.
This is a move that's come somewhat out of the blue, because I've felt for the last few weeks the direction of travel was that Morgan Rogers ends up at Arsenal. I know that his advisors have been in talks with Arsenal for quite a few weeks now, but I'm not sure that Arsenal were willing to pay the asking price of Chelsea of season opportunity, £117 million, a British record fee. and he's on his way to Stamford Bridge. I think Arteta is going to be really disappointed because Rodgers was his top target. Arsenal could offer Champions League football. Chelsea, of course, can't offer European football of any form. But from an Aston Villa perspective, this should give them the platform now to go on and find their way around the financial issues they've had with UEFA in particular, and be able to bring in reinforcements. They need them, don't they? Because they've not only lost Morgan Rogers, they've lost Yuri Tillemans to Manchester United. Luca Digne is on his way to Paris Saint-Germain. Those are three players who were so key for Villa last season in terms of winning that Euro.
Talk Sport.
Good afternoon. FIFA stands accused of destroying the football industry by the head of La Liga, who's calling on Gianni Infantino to stand down. But Javier Tebas admits nobody's likely to challenge him at the upcoming leadership poll, and the system to elect a new leader is sick at the source. Football finance expert Kieran Maguire has told talkSPORT it's likely the Swiss will be sticking around for a bit longer.
Gianni is up for election very soon. There's 211 votes. He needs to get over half of them, and over half of them have already been pledged to him. So I think it's going to be more of a coronation than a presidential battle, even if there is an alternative candidate.
Maguire says it's estimated FIFA made $14 billion from the 2026 World Cup. That's up from $8 billion during the 2022 edition. Next, Arsenal are expected to place another bid for Bruno Guimaraes with broad terms with the player already said to be in place. Newcastle denied direct formal talks have taken place, with sources at St James's Park insisting they want to keep hold of their captain. Former Toon striker Kevin Nolan's told talkSPORT it would be devastating if he does leave the club.
Massive blow to Newcastle, massive blow to Newcastle. I can't believe it's only 75 to 80 million because I really rate this lad. I think he, you see him last season when he was out of the Newcastle team, how he struggled. He was, the one, he's been the captain, he's the one who's drove them.
This as Les Ferdinand has called on the club hierarchy to rename a stand at St James's Park in honour of Kevin Keegan. Finally, Vinny Jr. has had facial harmonisation surgery in Brazil to make his chin stronger and more defined. Fans online are saying he now looks more like former Chelsea midfielder Ramirez. Some are calling him Chinny Jr. You can see for yourself at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Andy Burnham's told his cabinet to be a cost-of-living government, and a man's due in court charged with the murder of Anne Widdicombe. More from Sinead at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Keep summer journeys safe. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com to book your tyres, MOTs and servicing, so you can drive away happy every time.
Cloudy across Northern Ireland and the north of Scotland with some light showers. Dry with sunny spells elsewhere, the warmest in the south.
Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Coming up in this second hour of the show, actor Callum Lynch will be popping in to see us. He's a big Arsenal fan and he's got some exciting stuff coming up work-wise. He'll tell us about that. And as we said, a couple of big names from the world of Major League Baseball will be popping in as well to chat to us about soaking up a bit of British fan culture and link it into the world of baseball. But before all of that, we have been joined by comedian, actor, who we'll see in the upcoming Ted Lasso, and footballer and football fan, Sapphire McIntosh. Hi, Sapphire. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. What's your shirt you're wearing today?
It's a fancy, cool, vintage-style shirt from Adidas.
Oh, okay.
Do you like it?
No, but no one particular club.
I think it might be Japanese-inspired.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it's got that look to it. It's nice.
Yeah, I got it for you.
So you played a bit, didn't you, back in the day?
Back in the day, a long time ago, in my late teens, I used to play for Leeds United, yeah.
Did you want to be pro? Was that a dream?
So when I was playing, it was like late 00s. What's that? Not noughties. It's
whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So this is before the boom of women's football, which we're having now, right?
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I was the only girl playing football on the street. The boys would make me go in goal first before I could play. I used to play with the boys at high school. I hated hockey. I hated netball. I'd be the only girl playing football at high school. So it was before the boom of women's football. So did I want to play it pro? Potentially, but I didn't know enough, you know. When I was playing, some of the girls from Leeds would be going to America for university, but I didn't really have the administration skills for that. So maybe I would have wanted to go pro, but it wasn't advanced yet. You would go to America to go pro.
But those football skills have obviously been very handy for the Ted Lasso work.
Absolutely, yeah. So I've just come off the back of the new season of Ted Lasso, which is coming out on August 5th. I'm one of the Richmond female football players.
Right.
So I make the bulk of the squad for the new season, yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean,
was it
that's
fun
a
to...
Sorry, Paul, but that is a worldwide role, isn't it? It's not just popular in this country, it's popular all over the place. That's
especially in America. Yeah, it's a huge show, and I feel like I'm so happy that I get to be in like the first huge flagship show about women's football on Apple TV, and it's also a comedy, and I got to work with Jason Sudeikis, Hannah Waddingham, Tracy Ullman, comedy genius. So yeah, it was like a really great experience.
And as Andy says, it is global. We've spoken to a fair few of the cast on the show, and you know, it's all very well maybe being spotted in your local Tesco's, but when you can't walk down the street in New York, a few of them said it's all a bit weird. That's good though, isn't it? Career-wise, because you're a comedian and actor, and you've got Edinburgh show coming up, haven't you?
I mean, it was perfect, to be honest with you. I had my first boot camp in July last year in Southall. Hayes and Yedding, actually, where Lisa used to play.
Right.
We had a boot camp there in July last year, and there was about 50 women, one boot camp in the morning, one boot camp in the afternoon. I went in the morning boot camp, and it was dog eat dog, training drills, who's got the best shot, who's the fastest.
Wow.
And the directors just was watching us from the touchline. Then you go home in the evening, you wait for the call, got the call, went back in the following day, had an improv audition in front of 2 casting directors, and then 2 weeks later I got told that I was part of the Richmond football team.
Right. So you've got lines, you've got stuff to say, have you?
I've got a few lines, but what it is that because Jason Sudeikis is an improviser, he likes to see who's flowing, who's doing well, who's working together, and there's chance for season 2 for our characters to get bigger. But some people that do have big characters, I was working with Faye Massey, Tanya Reynolds from Sex Education, they've got huge roles. I'm more of a footballer / actor.
Okay, but that could grow by the sound of it.
I would love it to grow. Let's see.
Your Edinburgh show does have a football-related title, doesn't it? It's the famous Fergie.
So I chose the name for my Edinburgh show, Squeaky Bum Time, because obviously it's talking about like the last few minutes of a football match when things are a bit tense and it gets a bit squeaky. That's kind of like being my life in London as like a northerner in London, like trying to make it as a comedian. Like it's been tense and squeaky. I've lived in loads of house shares. It's I've got a broad accent. I've been judged a lot. So I thought, what shall I call my show? And I was like, I'll call it Squeaky Bum Time.
What was your route into comedy then, Sapphire? How did you start doing stand-up? Was you acting first and then went into that, or the other way around?
No. Well, when I moved to London, I kind of wanted to be the Black Davina McCall. So I used to do like vox pops and stuff, like on the street, like asking like controversial questions, and people in the comments used to say, you should try stand-up, and I was always like, I'm never trying stand-up. And then when I was just before the pandemic, I did a comedy course, and I was quite good on the course, but I was still too scared to get on the stand-up scene. And then after the pandemic, I moved into an 8-bed house share, and I said, Sapphire, it's now or never, and I've never looked back.
Wow.
You've got a degree in criminology?
Yes, I did.
Is that from Leeds University?
I went to Manchester Metropolitan.
Right.
To Manchester Met,
Wow.
Is that ever going to come in? Maybe a bit a nice police procedural after Ted Lasso.
My comedy, it's quite, I'm quite political in my comedy. I'm, I speak about things. It's not just light stuff. Like it's quite surreal. My comedy, it's like gallows humor. Like I take the Mickey out of like dark stuff, and I think having a degree plays into that. Like I'm a good writer. I can speak.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So when does Ted Lasso come out? Because it strikes me that it would be handy if it came out during the Edinburgh run. It would be great for the tickets.
So luckily enough for me, the first episode of Ted Lasso comes out on the first night of my Edinburgh show, August the 5th, So it's going to be weekly releases on Apple TV because everyone loves it so much. If they release the whole season out, everyone will just bulk watch it. Yeah. So they're going to keep everyone waiting, and it's going to come out 1 week at a time.
Fantastic. What a game. Very exciting, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's a great time.
So as you're walking around Edinburgh, people are going to say, they're going to be watching the show, aren't they? You'll know.
Sapphire Star. So I've got my first name, but my surname is Star.
Sapphire Star.
Yeah, that's my my football name, on Ted Lasso, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
So you're on at the Underbelly.
That's right.
Bristow Square,
Yeah,
Daisy Room.
Yeah, quarter to 6 every night, apart from the 18th. Yeah.
Have you done it before?
I've done Edinburgh before, but I'm debuting this year, so I'll be doing the whole month. I'm doing 25 nights back to back for an hour. And yeah, I'm debuting basically. So it's a way where it's a time when comedians like share their story.
You'll do other gigs too, like
I'll do other gigs, yeah. I'm doing like a beer flipping competition.
So do you support a team? Are you a Leeds fan?
I'm a Liverpool fan.
Oh, you're a Liverpool fan?
I'm not a Leeds United fan, sorry, no. No, I can't.
How did Liverpool come about?
So I think the influence of John Barnes and the Jamaican community in Yorkshire was a big thing. So obviously my grandmother was a John Barnes fan, and yeah, we supported Liverpool. Matt Manningham, Owen, that's when I was growing up, and Steven Gerrard's my hero.
Yeah.
I have love for Leeds, of course, but I'm a Liverpool fan.
Were you, because I mean, there was a time when people used to push back on girls playing football. Was it kind of, were you that era where it was starting to be embraced a lot more? It wasn't a problem. Who did you first start playing football with then?
Boys on the street, yeah. I was like, it was a battle. Every time I wanted to play with boys, it'd be like, you got to go in goal first. And then I had to prove myself, and then I'd prove myself. But also I had I had a male cousin growing up, so I used to play a lot with him. And then at high school, we used to play netball and hockey. It was so boring. And the teachers would be like, Sapphire, just go play with the boys.
Yeah. And it's good. Do you follow the women's game now? Do you support?
Not as much as I should.
Yeah.
But I do coach in my spare time.
Okay.
And I coach women, and I coach young girls as well. And nothing makes me feel better. Nothing makes me feel warmer than seeing like a young girl on a park playing with boys, which you see more common now.
Yeah.
And it really touches me. I think things are changing. I think in about 10 years, 15 years, I think there'll be the same amount of girls and boys playing football.
Well, it just moves so quickly, isn't it?
I know, because people love it, but they just didn't realise that they had access to it. And now that accessibility is opening up, even the other day, one of my friends from high school sent me a picture of him and his daughter, because she plays for a football team now, and he loves the fact that his daughter plays football, but he sent it to me because he watched me growing up playing football at high school. But I think it'll just become the norm, to be honest with you, and I think we're just going to be a huge football nation for boys and girls. How great is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's exciting.
You've made a documentary on smoking addiction. Is that because you were addicted to smoking?
Helped me stop smoking, but I refuse to do that. I refuse to get high on... I'm in this mushroom retreat.
What an odd way to get you off the cigarette.
You know,
Not quite a nicotine patch, is it?
Really?
Well, yeah, it's for wealthy people to get off addiction, and we pay $12,000 for a retreat, and we do this 8-hour trip, and you
Did he stop smoking? So, we'll look out for you in Ted Lasso.
Yes, please.
And good luck with the show. Do you want to do more acting now? Is it giving you the bug a bit?
Oh, my God, yeah. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, massively.
Is there something you'd like to be in? Do you like to be Emmerdale?
Emmerdale.
Do you like it's just
why
Yorkshire?
not?
Yorkshire.
Yeah, I'll take anything. Me, new version of Shameless.
Yeah.
New
version of Shameless.
Yeah, a Yorkshire version of Shameless, something like that, something gritty. I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah. Well, best of luck, Sapphire.
Thank you very much.
Sapphire McIntosh's show, Squeaky Bum Time, and you can see her at the Underbelly, Bristow Square, the Edinburgh Festival, 5:45 kick-off. And that is from Wednesday the 5th to Sunday the 30th of August. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Sapphire McIntosh there. Well, we've got Callum Lynch joining us in a moment. Arsenal supporting actor. He's been doing some exciting stuff recently. We'll talk a bit about the Goons as well when he joins us in the studio. And, stick around for that. We're here with Tool Station. If you've only got time for one stop, first stop, Tool Station.
there is a line that you should not overstep, and they overstepped it communally numerous times.
Got to be a long ban.
Yeah.
Jeff, if you look at it, Jeff, if you watch it back 5 or 6 times, Paredes, let me say, on Garcia, he grabs his neck, and the way Garcia's after the game, Garcia's neck jolts. That's assault.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Like, it's assault.
Like you, Stuart Pearce believes that the Argentinian midfielder needs an incredibly strong punishment.
But you've got to say, and just to back up exactly what you've just said there, sometimes in life and in football, what goes round comes round. And that's exactly what's happened to Argentina today. And I'm sure FIFA will see the punch that was thrown at the end of the game, and obviously they were quite happy to extend a 6-game ban for a Qatari player. And I'm sure when they see a punch like that, it will probably warranty a 20-game ban. I'm sure FIFA will be right on top of this, Aid.
Yeah. Well, they should be, because something's got to be done to stop.
Do you want to feel
like
safe on the pitch, don't you, Jeff? Do you know what I mean? You can't let the punishment has to be that big that no one ever does that.
It is assault. You've got it absolutely
No
right.
matter what happens in football, you can be angry you lost, but be classy in defeat. Yeah. Don't like. Do you know what I mean? If you want to fight, Paredes, there's places to fight. Not on a pitch against a Garcia. The way he was manhandling, I think it was Gavi, 21-year-old kid, and you're throwing him around on the pitch. That's someone's son, someone's brother.
Yeah.
Disgraceful. I'll ban him from the whole next tournament if I had my way.
I mean,
Howard.
They were shameless, classless thugs.
Yes.
During.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
It's getting very thespian here. We've gone from Sapphire Mackintosh and Ted Lasso. Our next guest has been doing lots of very exciting stuff, including Bridgerton. Along the way is actor Callum Lynch. Hello, Callum. Good to see you.
Oh, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
It's a great pleasure. So, yeah, I'm just looking at some of the stuff you've been doing. Lots of very exciting work recently, haven't you? Really?
I have.
Sweet Pea, which was pretty dark stuff, wasn't it?
It was pretty dark, yeah. I mean, for me, to be honest, that job was it was quite fun, most of it, because I was doing comedy, and then at the very end, last 2 scenes we shot, me getting stabbed to death, which was less fun. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, in case you haven't quite got to the last, people going, oh, yeah, thanks.
I was going to watch it till that point.
Yeah.
You, of course, come from a very famous acting family, don't you? Your mum is Neve Cusack, is that?
Yes, Neve Cusack.
Neve, sorry, yeah. I do struggle with those Irish names. Neve Cusack. I mean, all of them, and your dad as well. So, were you always going to be an actor, do you think?
Not really. To be honest, I think when I was at school, I was more interested in football. To be honest, football was kind of my thing. I mean, I was never good enough to play at a proper level, but I was playing for school and Sunday league 6 times a week, and acting wasn't really. I think probably because my parents did it.
Yeah,
it was sort of less appealing in a way. And then I went to uni, not to do acting, not drama school, none of that. Did a play just because I thought I'd try it, and just completely
that was
fell in
it.
love.
Was it?
Yeah,
really?
it was.
So
It must be in the genes, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably is, and also there's the thing of I was going and watching plays my whole childhood. So on some level, you're probably absorbing stuff that you don't even realise is happening at the time.
Well, because of that, were you kind of, you think, subliminally thinking, no, I don't want to do that because that's the family business? Or was there a bit of that?
Maybe a bit. I mean, it's also my parents, my dad, Finn Bolich, my mum, Neve Cusack, they've had such great careers. So the bar's really high. There's probably a level of intimidation that's in there as well, of am I going to do that? And then am I going to measure up and all this stuff? But no, now it's it's the best. We share it all together, and whenever short of things to talk about around the dinner table.
So that was live theatre that kind of got you into it.
It kind of was, yeah. Theatre at university. I mean, really terrible sort of student productions, which bless my parents, they had to come down and watch. I mean, get through the sort of 3-hour-long Edward II. But, it was great, and we were having a great time doing it. And then, got an agent. Sort of my penultimate year of university, started auditioning. And then, doing the whole thing of I was working in a cafe first few years, trying to make ends meet while building a career. And last few years it's been good, which is
brilliant.
Nice. Yeah.
You're in Ride or Die, aren't you, on Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Oh, amazing cast.
Yeah, it's got great. So it's Hannah Waddingham and Octavia Spencer are the two leads, and they play two best friends. And then at the end of episode 1, Octavia's character, Debbie, realises that Hannah's character, Judith, is actually an international assassin.
Yeah, I've heard her talking about this. It does sound very interesting.
Yeah, it's great because it's sort of, you've got the kind of action piece of it, and it's done so well. I mean, Hannah does a lot of the action stuff specifically, and she's just so good at it. You completely buy her as an assassin, and then it also has this great kind of like comedy through line, which is maybe more what I get to do, which is really fun. And it's number 1 on Prime worldwide now.
Oh, brilliant.
So, yeah.
Sound good.
And working with Bill Nye, was that fun watching him in action?
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, he's such a love. You know, when you meet people like Bill, you want them so much to be lovely people.
Yeah.
And he just like exceeds everyone's expectations. He's got time for everyone, Bill. And he looks so good. Doing scenes with him was like a real... I was having to sort of check myself and not be like, that's Bill Nye. Does it mean like stay in the scene? And, luckily my character's incredibly intimidated by Bill. So sort of use what I was really feeling,
It worked okay.
Yeah.
And you can be playing Brian Epstein shortly as well, back in the theatre, aren't you?
Yes, I just did that, in fact.
Oh, right.
I did that. I finished about 7 weeks ago, which was great. It was really tough.
Because there's Philip Norman's written a new book. It's been a lot of stuff about him in the press recently.
Well, he's such a fascinating character, and it's kind of hard to...
We should say it's the Beatles manager. I mean, honestly, I'm sure all the listeners know that.
Most people know, but not everybody.
They know his story is a fascinating one as well.
It is, exactly, yeah. And it was a sort of incredible arc to play on stage, because we meet Brian when he discovers the Beatles in the play and everything's going to go really well, but he was gay and he was really kind of, he felt...
Did he have a thing for John Lennon? Did he love John?
Well, our play is sort of not imagining, it's contending that they had a relationship. And they spent 12 days together in Torremolinos in Spain, where attitudes toward gay men were much more relaxed at the time. And no one knows what happened, but I'm a bit, 12 days in Torremolinos. I think maybe something happened.
12 days. Is that the kind of something will happen between two men if they spend 12 days in Torremolinos?
We spent 12 days in Russia. It was fine.
We were fine.
I think the listeners should know intimate details.
Right, Any lads' holidays apparently they have to be 11 days.
Yeah, they do.
I'm not sure this. And any of this, there's nothing wrong with that. They last for 13. So you're an Arsenal fan.
I'm a big Arsenal fan.
Why Arsenal? Is that sort of geographical or family? Or
Well, I was born in North London, so I guess it's sort of...
So was I. Other teams are available.
yeah, but I'm a man of taste. No, I think... I guess when I was growing up, it was like, my sort of first footballing memories are that Invincibles team, really.
Yeah.
I was sort of like... And I think...
So Glory Hunter will fire you under, will we?
I've been through it since.
Yeah, no.
I've paid my dues. But actually, when I was doing the play about Brian at the Kiln... I was on stage when Arsenal won the league, and I had to say to the rest of the cast, I was like, guys, you can't tell me what this, because I won't be able to go back on and do it. If anyone says to me, Bournemouth are 1-0 up, or well, I won't be able to do. I won't be able to think.
No, it's fair enough.
So, I came off stage after doing the bow, and everyone started jumping on me, and I went straight down to the Emirates. It was a real mixture of
a
special
time for Arsenal.
It was incredible. It was incredible. And
it wasn't great for us, but it was great.
I was really pleased for you.
Thanks, guys. Really magnanimous of you both.
No, I was.
We were just talking. I mean, quite a lot of the Arsenal players have looked tired at the tournament.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe there will be a bit of a World Cup hangover for them. I don't know. I think a couple of new faces, if they can do that as well.
Arteta's clever enough to give them quite a bit of time off, realising that the season is a very long thing.
Yeah.
You don't need them to be good in August and September. What you want them is to be good from Christmas onwards.
I think you're right.
And they won't be if you play them like mad to start with.
No, as long as we can keep in touch till sort of December time. But to be honest, I feel like, with the Morgan Rogers thing the other day, I was saying to one of my friends in the gym, like 12 months ago, I'd be stressing about that. I'd be stressing about us missing out on Morgan Rogers. But now we've done it. it's like this knot inside me is finally released, and I'm like, if they have 5 years off, I don't really mind. We've won the league now, and that was the thing for so long. But and also I trust that the recruitment team and Arteta are going to sign the right players, and I think they do need a rest. I think Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, William Saliba all need a big break.
Yeah.
But Miles Lewis-Skelly's not played any football over summer. Supermendy barely played. Marino, we've got a big squad. The Champions League's the one for me now, though, because that was tough.
Yeah.
That was really tough. And again, my first proper football memory was us losing in Paris against Barcelona, and so that was a difficult one to swallow.
2 games I enjoyed, fun. Trossard was great for you, wasn't he? He was a really good bit of business. I think.
Well, look, you worry about Morgan Rogers, but look what happened the last time Chelsea gazumped Arsenal.
Well,
ended up with Mudryk.
Yeah. Mudryk. Whatever happened to him?
Yeah.
Still waiting for him to
still
come.
Waiting.
Still waiting for the B sample to be tested.
Still waiting, apparently.
So look, but I thought he was. I mean, what was he? 27. It was just ridiculous deal, and he scored some important goals for
He
him.
got some good service.
It's so hard to find those sorts of players, isn't it? Who are going to step up in the big moments. I mean, Jota's the famous one, isn't he, for Liverpool?
Yeah.
And I think Trossard was that for us. I mean, they're looking at this Greek guy, I think, Solis.
Solis, you've signed him,
Is
haven't
that
you?
official?
He's a good player, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what is he, 24, 20? It's kind of when you see someone playing in the Belgian league, maybe, at that age, you're like...
He's looked good. He's looked good playing for Greece internationally.
Yeah.
He's looked very good.
The key is Rice, though. You wouldn't have won the title without
100%.
him, and you won't win the title without him this season either.
I don't think we win the title without Gyökeres, to be honest. And I've got reservations about him as a player, but I think everyone played their
Finished
role.
the season really well.
He did do well, didn't he?
Yeah,
in the Champions League,
he got confident. He got himself.
And for strikers,
and they learned how to play with him.
Yeah.
First season with strikers is often difficult. They normally kick on after that.
Yeah,
pains me to say.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you then, Callum? What are you up to next?
Nothing I can talk about right now.
I see. That happens all the time.
I know.
I've signed something I can't talk about.
Well, me too, actually.
Oh yeah. I know you're up. Yeah. Well, you're up to next, mate.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll sort out the order of service. That's what you're.
Thanks.
That's what you're up to next.
Isn't it? It's marvellous, isn't it?
But yeah, it's just, to be honest, I was in New York last week doing the premiere for Ride or Die. We had the London one 2 weeks before, so it's been full focus on that. And it's just been great. It's been great to, when you work on something. We were doing it for 6 months. It's like a long old job away.
Did you film it here
in Prague, in the Czech Republic? Yeah. And you don't know. You sort of have your feelings about how it was, and I love doing it, and then you just have no idea how it's going to turn out because you're not involved in the edit and that whole process. But then also, even when you see it, you've no idea how the world is going to respond. And yeah, luckily, seems like people are really enjoying it.
Brilliant.
So,
yeah, it'd be number one.
Yeah. Well, stick it on, guys.
Oh yeah, I'll have a watch. It's fantastic cast. So coming back from Prague to North London, prices in pubs must have been a bit of a shock to the system. It was pound a pint.
I know.
Where's your pound a pint?
Yeah, so the last sort of 2 months, because it was January to June we shot, and every time I flew out, it was just Stag City. It was just all the lads on away.
It's interesting. We've got to play Czechia in the Nations League,
right? Yeah,
and we were talking to Stan Collymore earlier on. The England fans generally, when they travel, the hardcore of England fans, travel club members are brilliant. They don't kick off. They were getting great references from the American bar owners and American people. But there's something about when England play in those sort of stag destinations like Amsterdam or Prague, and then you get a lot of tourists going along, and then they're the ones that kick off, and England get a bad reputation. I hope that the authorities can stop a lot of those guys travelling this time. Because England's reputation, Stan says it sticks. He goes and watches Villa away in Europe. And I've noticed it when I've watched Spurs away. It's very heavy-handed policing in Europe.
Really?
And so that's because of the reputation, which in a lot of cases they don't deserve. But then you get like the stag do games. In some ways, I wish we hadn't drawn them. But anyway.
It'll be all right.
Best of luck with Ride or Die.
No, thank you, guys.
Hope you have a terrible season. And I'm sure you wish the same to us.
Not season 2, season for Arsenal.
Oh,
just to be clear. A great season 2 for Ride or Die.
Cheers, Callum. Lovely to meet you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on.
This actor, Callum Lynch. Go and check him out. It's available on Amazon Prime, Ride or Die. It's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. We're going to talk a bit of Italian football. Could Pep really take over the national team? And we're talking baseball next. 2 big names from the world of Major League Baseball popping in. They're over here soaking up British sporting culture. They'll tell us more about that in a few moments' time.
who would have even dreamt that 6-4 would be the scoreline in
a madness?
The third and fourth place game.
A 10-goal quote-unquote thriller, an absolute candy floss
And you see
of a
the
game of
chances
football.
that were missed as well.
Oh, I watched it live last night, and I went back over. My notes from when I'm watching a game are often an absolute madness when I read back over them. And I'm like,
Are you on little bits of paper or is it a big sheet?
No, I actually, weirdly, I WhatsApp them to myself. So I write them in my phone as I'm watching and as there's breaks in play, etc. And one of the things I wrote is England could have scored 6 in the first half. France could have scored 9 in the second half.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a absolute madness of a game of football. But is it one you take in any way seriously?
Well, it's hard to... Could you imagine that game and that result being in the tournament as a semi-final game?
Absolutely not.
That's just not going to happen. So I mean, watching the performance with England against, Argentina, we talked a lot about it yesterday, and what England didn't do. And then we watch the next game and England do everything they should have done, as in the type of players to get into space and run behind the opposition's defence. England done it all the time. It was like, well, you didn't see that once in the last 35 minutes of a game against Argentina. And then every, minute and a half, 2 minutes, you saw someone breaking from, wide areas into space and getting behind, the French back four last night.
The German leading England. It all sounds a little bit odd, but as Thomas Tuchel tries to bring football home, here's how he ended up in one of the most scrutinised jobs in sport. Well, Tuchel started his footballing journey in the sleepy town of Krimbach. His leadership skills were obvious from an early age, with Tuchel even making subs during PE volleyball sessions. After a knee injury ended his playing career at the age of 25, Tuchel accepted his first coaching role in the Stuttgart U setup in 2000. He led the club's under-19s to their league title 5 years later, but his perceived abrasive personality meant Stuttgart chose not to renew his contract. He went on to spend 5 years at the helm at Mainz before leaving the club for Dortmund. And there, Tuchel secured his first major trophy, the German Cup, in 2017. 8 more pieces of silverware came next for Tuchel in just 5 seasons at PSG, Chelsea and Bayern Munich. And that CV impressed the top brass at the FA.
We found so many similarities and so many things that suited my approach and my hunger to achieve special things. I always wanted to come back to England.
Well, he says all the right things, but is destiny on Tuchel's side?
Yeah, it is Paul Hawksbee and Hawksbee Jacobs here on talkSPORT. This is an interesting little cultural exchange because, as you're probably aware, at the World Cup, the Scotland fans marched on Fenway and went and watched the Red Sox game by invitation and kind of took the place over. And the England fans did a very similar thing in Atlanta, went and watched the Braves and were singing sort of English football songs to some of the players. I think it was Michael Harris became he was right in front of them and they were sort of asking him for a wave and singing his name. So this is interesting. So this is a kind of reverse of that. This is people from the world of Major League Baseball come over to soak up a bit of British fan culture ahead of some broadcasts. And we are joined in the studio by Xavier Scruggs, who played Major League Baseball for the Cardinals and the Marlins, and Melanie Newman, who's a Major League Baseball play-by-play commentator. Good to see you both.
Thank you for having us.
Lovely to be in your backyard this time.
Yeah, you were saying, Melanie, that you were kind of aware of what had gone on with the British fans going to the baseball games and kind of imprinting a bit of their fan culture on baseball fans.
It's hard to miss it, honestly. It was such a national discussion about just how wonderful the fans were, how they did take it over. And for me, our family is from Boston, but they have Scottish roots. And so getting to see the way that the Tartan Army reacted, two of the things that we love, it's just such a great crossover. I don't think we could have even expected it to work out like that, but the schedule, as you mentioned, allowed it. And we love that even if you didn't necessarily know you would be a fan, they got to come over and enjoy that atmosphere and make it even better.
Yeah.
You've been having a look at some of our sporting institutions.
Yeah, that's right. Our old friend Felix White of Maccabee's fame, who is a massive cricket fan and a big baseball fan as well, has been kind of holding your hand through that, hasn't he? Taking you a bit of cricket and kind of giving you a feel, Xavier, for
my goodness,
British sporting culture.
I mean, I feel like cricket is for me now. There's my first cricket match ever, and I go to Lord's, and I just am immersed in this atmosphere to where people are having a great time, but also they're soaking in just the excitement of the game, the match itself. The food was amazing. Everybody's dressed to the nines, and I'm like, this sport was made for me. I feel like maybe I should do a crossover and go from baseball to now cricket, because it looks like there's a lot of similarities within the sport as well.
Absolutely. The essence of baseball and cricket is exactly the same. It's a battle between the bowler and the batter, the pitcher and the batter.
Right.
The only difference is you can't bounce the ball in baseball.
No,
that brings in a different dynamic.
I know, it totally does. And I'm looking at, and there's also no gloves, by the way. So I'm like, these guys are out here catching the ball with no gloves. These are different types of beasts. Yeah. I love watching that.
And to his point, maybe we should be coming back to Lord's more often, because we land, England forces the decider, and then they won. So what's not to love about that?
That's true. There are a lot. Did you go on Sunday? There were a lot of runs, not many.
Yes, it was nuts. Then the Indian fans were excited for their opportunity. That's another crazy thing about cricket too, it's different than baseball, in which everybody scores first, and then the next team goes. In baseball, you're going back and forth, so it's different in that sense too.
That's true.
So you've got some broadcasts coming up, haven't you? We've got some regular season, post-season games coming up that people can enjoy on the Beeb.
We do, and we're so excited. This is my favorite project now that we've been a part of for several years. This coming Sunday is officially the first one of the season. For me, I circle it. I wait for the second half so that we can be reunited again. It's going to be the Dodgers and the Mets. I mean, you're talking two just storied powerhouses from both coasts of the U.S. going after it. And I think the way...
It's an East Coast game.
It is an East Coast game, so even more favorable for your timing. But I just think the way that we get to bring it to fans, it's not even my normal commentary when we are in a formal booth and things are a little more crisp and concise. We're on a couch because we want you to feel like we're joining you in your own family room. And so it is a little bit of discussion of these are the oddities and the quirks if you haven't joined us before. But also when we have guys like X who have been in the game at an intimate level, let's peel the cover off and let's really get into things. I just think it's the best part of baseball.
Yeah. I think both cricket and baseball have rich histories as well. It's not just the present day. We can talk about great old legends. Baseball's full of old legends like Babe Ruth and people like that. And I'm quite fascinated because on YouTube, you can find colour footage of Babe Ruth playing and things like that.
What, colourised footage?
No, right. But also interviews with them, which is really odd. You know, from like the late 20s, 30s. It's fascinating.
I think that's one thing that people will love about baseball too, if you're not familiar with it, is the history is such as rich as, football here. Same thing with cricket. There's elements of our game in which the tradition are something that we continue to hold on to, but the newness of the game as well, how fast we start to play the game now, because obviously people's attention span are so small now. So there's been some rule changes that allow people to digest our game that much better. Yeah. And it's fun, right? You mentioned the fans that came over from England to go see the Atlanta Braves, Michael Harris II. There's an element of just excitement that they bring towards the players now that allow them to be superstars on the field and off the field.
I feel a bit for the umpires in baseball this season. That thing, challenging.
I mean, it's difficult.
It is difficult, but sometimes they're miles out. It's like that much out. You think, oh, God.
But then you make up for it because some of them you can't slide a piece of paper between the call and you go, well, how is he supposed to get that right or wrong? Whichever direction it's overturned. And I do love that they've kept them in there. I think that human element is important. I mean, it would be imagining cricket and they just go to a robot.
Yeah,
So you can't.
It's the same in football. You don't want
Yeah, exactly.
you need human officials.
Yes.
It's a great game to watch. But I mean, we were talking about this. It's a great game to go to, isn't it? It's a great game to
It's
go
almost
along
in a
to.
way better live because you can see the whole field.
Right,
You know?
right. And I think that's kind of, you can see the strategy amongst the players, right? And you talked about cricket, how it's one bowler throwing, and each pitch in baseball, there's a strategy towards it setting up the next pitch. And it's almost the momentum building before the big home run or the big catch. So it's a lot of kind of slow strategic movements until the big bang. And that's what excites me as now someone that gets to analyze the game. So I don't have to face guys throwing 100 miles an hour anymore.
We sadly we haven't got a London series game this year, have we? I mean, I think because of that you need a big enough stadium to do it, and really the London stadium is the only one that really works. It was the sort of scheduling problem, I think, wasn't it? It wasn't available when the teams could come over.
So there were a couple of other countries that had originally stepped in for the scheduling, and because those are tied into so many different contracts, I know MLB Europe is really thrilled to have it here in London. They're proud of the 3 series that we've watched. The fans have been just packing the place and a wonderful atmosphere. So unfortunately, while they couldn't recoup it there, I know that we were just discussing this even yesterday, sitting in Craven Cottage, and it's not an if, but a when for it to come back. And that excites us because it's just one of the most unique situations to step out of your own borders, introducing new fans, seeing the way fans react locally here. Kyle Schwarber going to the local Phillies pub and engaging. I mean, would you have ever thought you go down the street to your local brewer and there's your favorite player from the U.S. just sitting there and enjoying his fans? So I'm excited to see when that does happen. We know that it will. And I'm curious which teams get the draw because everybody wants to argue that they should be the next slot.
Right, that'd be interesting. One difference between cricket though is bench clearing. You never see that in cricket.
They have a longer way to go. You have to get out of the clubhouse. That's farther.
Right. You occasionally see players flaring up. This bench clearing is when all hell breaks loose.
There's a fight and then everybody comes to protect
Yes,
them.
a lot of emotion kind of starts to bubble up, and maybe somebody got hit by a pitch and takes it a little personal and wants to go out to the pitcher and say, hey, I have a few words for you. And sometimes it can end in the fighting, but I think that tells you the emotions that come within the game, within the players. And you see that in every sport, but that's when things get, the tempers get flared toward the highest.
Did you instigate a few of those?
I never instigate. I didn't start them. I may have finished them. No, I didn't. I wasn't involved in those things. But the good thing is, a lot of times you'll see guys, because you're friends with a lot of guys on the other team. So you'll go and act like maybe you pushing and shoving, but that's just a friend that you're messing with, you know?
Yeah. And was it a difficult world to get into? I imagine it's a very male-dominated world, baseball commentary. What was your route into it?
No, it absolutely is. And so for the fans who are stepping into it, there's a level of systems to get through, just like the players. X had a very similar path. And so this is what I studied at university. This was my background. My dad raised me to love the game. I thought I would be a writer. And I trusted my advisors who said, we think we want to try to put you into broadcasting instead, which no one believes that I'm an introvert, but it was a big crack out of my shell. And so I finally found my first job. I was in minor league baseball for 7 years. I lived all across the country, every different nook and cranny you could think of, the smallest little holes. But the beauty of it now is that I know so much of the league because I shared, you're talking 12-hour bus rides to get to a different side of one state to play a game that night. And so a lot of those guys are big leaguers now. And to kind of look across and go, hey, we made it together. I feel very fortunate. And that's not without the judgment and sometimes maybe maltreatment. But my dad was always really great about remembering that that's a reflection of people who choose to behave in that way and not necessarily of my credentials and the work that I've put in. And it's hard to remember that, you cling to the good ones. You have your good friends, your family, your coworkers who you can trust and keep in that inner circle that make it fun. And I feel like we're in a better place now to have that diversity than ever, because that shouldn't be a factor when you look at the resume.
Absolutely.
Talking of fun, the minor league baseball. We have a guy called Todd Mack who used to present baseball on Channel 5. He comes on every week, talks about sport in America. And he's talked about the phenomenon of minor league baseball, the nights, the fun nights, bobblehead night, that sort of idea. You know, different things, getting dressed up. And
just to kind of get people out, people out. Like, I went and watched some games on the road, and it's a lot of fun when you go to those evenings. So they work hard to get people in the ballpark, don't they?
There's less rules, but there's also way less money to make those nights happen. I've sat there painting many banners to hang out for NASCAR racing night, and I was the mascot, so I was Baby Bear. I had the big bear head.
Really?
Yeah, overall it went well. We had some missteps along the way, but I mean, X, I think you can speak to it too, because we got to talk and reflect on this. Just the majors are amazing and they're special and it's grandiose, but the minors, they're quiet. But the players are this close when you're in the stands and you're one of maybe a couple hundred people. I think it's an amazingly unique aspect to appreciate when you're in it.
Major League is the show, isn't it?
It's the show.
Yeah. As a player, you know, it's hard to say that there's a lot of good things about the minor leagues, but those are the leagues, or those are the times in which you're actually growing into a man, right? As a player, and so you learn to appreciate the time with the other players, learning their backgrounds, because that's another thing about baseball is everybody is from a different background. Everybody's had a different journey, just like Melanie's journey and perspective is different. Everybody's is completely different. So I think it's something that fans who may not as be familiar with baseball will learn to appreciate too, is that everybody's story to the show is quite the story.
Yeah. Well, guys, lovely to see you. Thank you for coming in. You'll see you're back on Sunday.
Back on Sunday.
And it's going to be on the iPlayer, the website, and the app as well. And Felix is going to be part of your coverage as well.
It's not coverage without Felix.
No, exactly. He'll bring it back to cricket if he can.
He will.
Yeah, good to see you both.
It's good to get people
Lovely
into
to be here. Exactly, and that's our whole goal.
Yeah. So there is the play-by-play commentator, Melanie Newman, and Xavier Scruggs, the former MLB player. It's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Lots more to come, including Jim Rosenthal recalling bringing Fergie and Kevin Keegan together after that infamous "I'd Love It" rant. And we're going to talk David Beckham later on. Did about 12 ads across the World Cup. David Beckham he's still a big deal in the States.
Absolutely. He's an icon.
That's right.
Well, he netted 25 million. Every time his face came up on the ball, everybody cheered a lot more than they did Infantino.
It's amazing. Local lab made good. Anyway, we'll be chatting to a PR expert about why Brand Beckham is very much alive and kicking all these years on. That's all to come. We're here with Toolstation. Make the switch to the Toolstation Trade Club. You'll save 10% on all electrical and lighting when you buy cable and flexes. First stop, Toolstation.
Viva España! Thank you, Spain! Muchas gracias, España! Ferran Torres, you absolute beauty! You have saved football, because from start to finish, whether it's Tom Cruise's pathetic speech about unity in front of Donald Trump, whether it's the game starting 6 minutes late, whether it's the disgraceful refereeing which allowed Argentina to push, scratch, foul and dive their way into extra time, whether it's the most egregious decision to chalk off Nico Williams' opener, whether it's the ridiculous halftime show which wasn't even good, or Infantino chasing after Donald Trump after the trophy was handed out. This World Cup in so many ways was an absolute circus, and Argentina, who might have produced two of the world's best players, have been an ugly addition to this World Cup, and I'm glad they got their just desserts. The only shining light in the stadium was Spain, and I've just enjoyed the biggest hate watch of my life. Thank you, Spain. You've saved football.
Max, I'm with you all the way, mate. Look, it was
It was a boring game.
It was a terrible game.
It was a terrible game, wasn't it? It wasn't great, was
Argentina made it terrible.
Yeah, just
the ref made it terrible.
Stop, start. Loads of fouls. Goals disallowed that should have been goals. Like, you could see it was just they were trying to line it up for Argentina, but they just didn't have. I'm a conspiracy theorist, yes.
So
they were trying to line it up for Argentina, wouldn't they?
And football's the winner, right?
And football came out on top, so that's what I'm happy about.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, I mean, where do we start? Lionel Messi's last game. Lamine Yamal, a teenager, already won the Euros, already won the World Cup. I just think, for me, I'm so relieved.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Paul Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. It's Drive with Andy Goldstein, Troy Deeney alongside him from 4 o'clock this afternoon. And Transfer Insiders, Sam Ellard and Ben Jacobs from 7. And we touched on a story with Ben Jacobs yesterday, and indeed with Andy Brassler, European football expert, around Pep Guardiola and the hope of the Italian Football Federation they can persuade him to become the next head coach. There's been a few noises suggesting that it could happen.
Yeah, it seems surprising. But
let's have a chat with Italian football expert Daniele Fisichella. Hi, Daniele.
Good afternoon.
What's your feeling about this? Do you think it's a possibility? What's the latest noises out of Italy?
Dream costs nothing, you know, but I think eventually, and I probably understand where my position is. There's been a contact. Paolo Maldini, the newly appointed technical director of the Italian FA, and Leonardo, the Brazilian Leonardo, used to work with PSG, who's the senior advisor, had met with Pep Guardiola over the weekend while Argentina and Spain were preparing to play the World Cup final. The Italians were scrambling to try to find a new manager, a position that has been vacant since the end of March. So there's been a meeting in Barcelona, and of course they explained what the plan would be. But the feeling is that Pep has politely declined a very simple thanks, but no thanks. The reasons behind it are multiple. Well, first of all, is an economic reason. It's not to suggest that Pep Guardiola is all about the money, but his wage at Manchester City, it was around 24 million euros, whereas the Italian Federation, even making enormous efforts with help of sponsors, could not have gone beyond 5 million euros. So there is a substantial gap to make up. And then, of course, there is also the project that Pep Guardiola will take over. Of course, he's been extremely successful everywhere he's been, but this one would be probably one of his most difficult, giving the opportunity to Italy to be again competitive after failing to qualify for 3 World Cups in a row, as you all know already.
It's unthinkable, isn't it? A great football nation like Italy, eventually it's got to come back, hasn't it? It's all cyclical.
You would think so. But, I mean, how would it play, you think, a non-Italian manager? Has it got to the stage where Italian football fans wouldn't care? They just want to get back to the top table?
I think they would not care if it was somebody like Pep Guardiola, if he was the very top manager in the world, and I put with him also Jurgen Klopp, who of course is already the new Germany manager. Even somebody like Mourinho will be extremely divisive and unwelcome. So for Pep Guardiola, probably the Italians will be ready to be extremely welcoming, but Italy has never had a foreign manager. What plays in Pep's favors in the eyes of the fans is his long-standing association with Italy. He had played in Italy for a couple of seasons, first at Brescia and then at Roma, towards the end of his career, where he was extremely respected everywhere he went. And he also spoke in multiple occasions of how important was in his formation those years spent in Serie A, playing for a team like Brescia that had to achieve salvation. So he probably learned a different facet of the game. And of course, Pep Guardiola is very fluent in Italian. He comes to Italy a lot. But I think the links and the association really stops there. From what I'm hearing, the possibility of hiring Guardiola is extremely unlikely. However, the new FA president has been in charge since the 22nd of June, Giovanni Malagò, and it seemed that the name that was going to be made official was the one of Roberto Mancini. Now, he has taken almost a month to find a replacement for Gattuso, and that means obviously the decision is very complex, because if you think that other nations like Germany, Portugal, Croatia have parted ways with the managers after the World Cup and already hired the replacements, that tells you how difficult really is for the Italian FA to nail down the right person and the right name. But of course, trying for Guardiola is a possibility, something that they have to do it, but it is extremely difficult.
Can't Paolo Maldini sort of twist the arm of his old teammate Carlo Ancelotti? I know there was a time he was offered the job and didn't want to take it, and he said he liked the day-to-day of club management, but he's now with an international team in Brazil. It seems
didn't go that great though, did it?
No, he seems to be enjoying himself. But I mean, look, Ancelotti is a bit annoying that he's not Italy's manager?
Yeah, I think is one that Italy didn't manage to capture at the right time. When Ancelotti was hired as a Brazil manager was straight after when Luciano Spalletti took over from Roberto Mancini, who left Italy in disarray in the middle of the Euro 2024 campaign because he thought the project was no longer viable, and basically left everything to do to Spalletti, who qualified Italy to the Euros. But Ancelotti has been reported to be upset of not having been at least approached. Well, the latest declaration, the latest quotes are for Ancelotti to continue with Brazil and to stay at least another couple of years. At the moment, the front runner, if not Guardiola, which again is unlikely, should be Mancini. Conte is in the background, probably is not going to be named. And then there could be some left field candidates like Raffaele Palladino, formerly of Atalanta, a young manager, only 42 years old. There is Stefano Pioli and Andrea Pirlo, who has been probably the one most talked about. His experience is limited. He has managed less than 100 games in Italy between Serie A and Serie B. That probably will be a concern. Look, there have been a lot of names. It seems to me like when they're trying to elect the popes and they're trying to throw names, the first names that they're thrown are normally the ones that are not going to become popes, because obviously there is no consensus. So maybe there could be a coup de théâtre at the end.
You've tried everybody else. Let's go with vibes. Go with Pirlo. I like the idea. Just Pirlo looking.
What about Roberto De Zerbi?
Looking handsome in that blazer. And you're not having him. Get your hands off Andy. He's already got the job.
I think with Pirlo, the lack of experience, and for what he's shown at Juventus, his Juventus side finished fourth that season. He never seemed to be able to grasp the situation. Look, it is very dangerous to go back to past glories. Italy have done it with Gattuso to try to restore the pride. And among the crop of players who have won the 2006 World Cup, there are some that are much more qualified than Pirlo and Gattuso. Takes, for example, Fabio Grosso, who also managed abroad and now is going to manage Fiorentina. So there is also Simone Inzaghi, who's not part of the squad, but now manages in Saudi Arabia. So again, I think Pirlo will be seen almost like a cheap option, almost a desperate option. So I'm not sure it's going to go down too well with Italians. But anyway, first game is at the end of September, so they better get a name out sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniele.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Speak soon.
Daniele Fisichella, Italian football expert. Yeah, the world isn't right. The World Cups aren't right without an Italian team there.
I don't think so.
They've got to get that anthem. They've got to get it sorted. Anyway, we are talking Brand Beckham. It's showing no sign of waning, I think it's fair to say. Jim Rosenthal joins us to recall bringing Kevin Keegan and Alex Ferguson together after the infamous "I'd Love It" rant by Kevin. And we'll head to the States for the final time. Brian Sciaretta is going to join us, our US football correspondent. The dust settled for a couple of days to take stock of the World Cup and whether he's seen a few more converts since the circus left town. That's all to come.
Gabby, well done to Spain. Argentina were an absolute disgrace.
Yes, last night, I felt like I won last night watching. I felt like football was the winner. Anti-football lost. Shame that Messi's probably last World Cup game was a game where his team didn't try and play football. Disgraceful tactics that have worked all through the World Cup. They've bullied teams. And last night, they tried to bully Spain and it didn't work. Finally, a referee who decided to give a few bookings. Could he give a lot more?
Oh, well, how was Paredes still on?
Especially to Paredes and other players, but at least he gave that second yellow card to Enzo Fernandez, who deserved to get sent off. Football's the winner once again, which is what we wanted to see in the Champions League, football being the winner, and also in the World Cup.
Yeah, that Enzo Fernandez, I've never met him, he must be a lovely bloke, mustn't he? After the England game when he said he likes the English because everyone who cleans and cooks at his house is English.
Wow.
I mean, it's breathtakingly arrogant, to say the least. You know, I think he'll get a pretty hot reception at English football.
Every game
next season.
Every game. Just his character, his celebrations. I see social media last night was absolutely buzzing. Spain winning, Enzo getting sent off was the perfect end to the World Cup.
Yeah, and I have to say that, look, I mean, Spain should have put them to the sword much sooner, but they don't have a focal point up front, do they? They don't have an out-and-out striker as such.
Yeah, I mean, if they had the old strikers that they had, like David Villa, he would have scored a lot of those chances. But some of the football they played yesterday, Spain, against a team that just wanted to sit back.
Talk Sport. I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. Gianni Infantino needs to go, according to the La Liga chief, who admits nobody's likely to challenge him at the upcoming leadership election. Javier Tebas says the system at FIFA is sick at the source and no one wants to present themselves to lose. Football finance expert Kieran Maguire has told talkSPORT globally Infantino has no shortage of backers.
It's a bit of a circular loving. The amount of money going to the individual countries, so if you're Bhutan, if you're the Cook Islands, if you're Nepal or Liechtenstein, that's increased by a factor of 4 compared to where we were in 2014.
Next, it would be a massive blow to Newcastle if their captain Bruno Guimaraes completes a move to North London. That's according to Kevin Nolan, with the Gunners expected to make another bid in the £70 million region for the Brazilian. The former Toon striker admits Mikel Arteta would be getting one hell of a player in an already star-studded squad.
To bring someone of his quality into what is already a Premier League winning side and, you know, Champions League finalists will only make them a stronger and better outfit.
Elsewhere, Ipswich have signed goalkeeper Kane van Ulven from Dutch second-tier FC Volendam. He signed a 5-year contract. West Ham are said to be considering selling Crescenzio Somerville to Roma. They've bid £40 million. And both Rangers and Celtic have been hit with disciplinary charges, that following the fan trouble that marred their Scottish Cup quarter-final back in March. Plenty more on the live blog at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The man accused of the murder of Anne Widdecombe's appeared in court, and Andy Burnham's promised to lead a cost-of-living government. More from Sinead at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. drive away happy every time.
Dry with sunny spells, the warmest of which in the south. Cloudy across Northern Ireland and the north of Scotland with some light showers.
Good afternoon, Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Jim Rosenthal joining us with his memories of Kevin Keegan and a great reunion he was instrumental in putting together. Mark Bukowski is a PR expert. He's going to talk David Beckham, who was one of the real winners of this World Cup in terms of the brand. And I mean, he's done a lot of great things in American sport and kind of grown the sport there by going there and playing for Galaxy and buying into Miami and bringing Messi there as well. He's done a lot. He's done a lot for the game there. But yeah, I mean, he's as popular as ever, as our American friends from the world of baseball were just telling us. And Brian Chiaretta's going to join us to say now the circus has left now to see will there be a lasting legacy of the World Cup for American soccer fans. We can say it again now. Yeah. It's interesting listening to Fletch there about the comments from Javier Tebas saying that, you know, he thinks that Infantino should go. Few leading FAs, I think, are holding out on just sort of following everybody else and backing Infantino.
It won't stop.
It won't. It's the interesting thing is, though, he's been there effectively since February 2016, and the term limit for a FIFA president is three terms of 4 years. So there's 12 years they can't. But what they decided to do, FIFA, was not count the 3 years between 2016 2019, where he was effectively in charge during Blatter's. So they've just written those three. They write those 3 years off, and it was only when he was actually elected in 19 counts towards the 12 years. So
talking of Blatter, I mean, I'm honest. Like even he said that the World Cup's tainted and all this sort of stuff. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? If he's saying it.
When Blatter's getting stuck in, although you know he kind of would do, wouldn't he? Really, but we've heard. UEFA didn't go along. The UEFA bigwigs never went to the final, did they? Didn't want to.
No, they're not happy about it, and yeah, you can see why. Talking of PR, though, I'm fascinated. I mean, Wayne Rooney, he has improved his performance. There's no question about it. But boy, did he score heavily with the press for his comments.
Loved it. Just one word.
Just loved it. Just that one thing he said about the half-time show.
One word.
I know. It seems to have turned the whole thing around.
I love him. Now they want to give him the voice.
Everything.
Get him on Britain's Got Talent. Yeah,
it's brilliant, isn't it, how it works? But yeah, fair enough to him. And he has got better. There's no question about it.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And what else have we got here? I've got this this letter. Where is it? 50 quid. This was worth. Well done for England.
They're still giving out sort of proper money for letters to newspapers.
But it's all the same people. It's Manisa Kunkel, our old friend who normally comments on royal passing.
Manisa Kunkel. That's just words. What are you talking about?
That's her name from Harrow in Middlesex. Oh, they're all the same.
She often wins 50.
Ian Owen of Wallington, Manisa Kunkel.
I love
Sylvia
the way you devoted you. That should be your
Sean
special.
Spillane.
This could be your...
I know everything about it. I've studied these people's work for 26 years.
Wow. What a proud boast.
I know. And Manisa's written here, I mean, honestly.
Manisa, my nephew.
Very much so.
Go on, then.
Well done to England for coming third in the World Cup. Our best result since we won the trophy all those years ago. Yeah, thanks. Our boys showed talent, passion and pride. Bukayo Saka scored a memorable hat-trick. And Jude Bellingham found the net yet again to seal the 6-4 win over France. That's basically a report, isn't it, really? It was so...
50 quid she got for that.
I know. It was so satisfying after the pain of losing to Argentina in the semi-finals. And it's also a good sign for the Euros. Yeah, not really. Do you know what I mean? It was the third and fourth place.
Well, I suppose all the ingredients
on the
are there.
Beach.
There's information and it's positive. I mean, for me, it doesn't do a lot, but
it doesn't do 50 quid.
But she's obviously cornered the market now to get 50 quid out of the newspapers.
And Ian Owen, he's writing about the sad passing of Terence Donovan, Jason Donovan's father.
All right.
He says, I see Terence Donovan, the actor and father and singer of Jason Donovan, has passed away. Yeah, that's true. I remember in the early 90s that Terence, like his son, had a part in Neighbours. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Aged 90 at the time of his death. Terence lived a long time. Yes, thank you, Ian. Tremendous, isn't it?
Age 90, lived a long time. That wasn't 50 quid, was it?
No, it wasn't 50 quid.
Wow.
Definitely not. It's so funny, these letters.
Yes, indeed.
There's a lot of people who want Argentina players to be banned forever.
Yeah.
All Argentinian players who play in the Premier League who are involved in the protests for the Falklands should have their visas withdrawn. This is Mina in Worthington.
Yes.
Argentina were hell-bent on confrontation right from the start, right through the illegal banner. How about denying a work permit for any RG footballer in the Premier League? Yeah. That'll wipe the smug grins off their faces. And Derbyshire man says Argentina should be banned for the next 3 tournaments. It's all quite extreme, isn't it?
Yeah.
People aren't happy about it. I mean, you can see the reasons.
You've got to give Paredes about 10 games at least.
I'd have said so, but they didn't he wasn't even sent off, was he?
We've subsequently discovered he didn't actually get a red card. It was never given to him. It was a mistake. But Griff from King's Lynn says there are regions of Argentina that speak Welsh. I knew that.
No, that is in Patagonia.
Patagonia, yeah.
That's
so I wonder how the Welsh felt about Argentina. They're probably right, not all the Welsh,
right behind them.
Right. If you're from those sort of parts of Wales where those Patagonian Argentinians are, then quite possibly
you
they
might.
were. Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't really take us.
Not really.
You see, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. It's John Rahm. Didn't have the greatest open. Fired his ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
Didn't want to take it out on his clubs because I suppose that can get you a sort of rule violation and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So he ripped his glove in half.
That takes a bit of doing. I saw this.
Yeah, well, it does. Yeah, I mean, it's
strong to rip a whole leather glove in half.
It did remind me of a Crackerjack Stu Francis. Oh, I was that angry I could have ripped me glove in half. It didn't have that sort of feel to it.
What a brilliant reference.
It's not this one for the old Crackerjack fans. and during the Stu Francis era. But
I'm more a Peter Glaze man myself.
I can see why that is. I can certainly see that.
When you watched it, did they have that thing where they had to answer questions holding a cabbage?
Yeah.
If they drop the cabbage, they lose all their prizes.
Quite possibly. Yeah, that
seems a bit of a strange.
Telly
was strange in those days.
Before you had phones, kids, that's what you had to watch. Full of cubs, it was the audience. Just loads of cubs and scouts all sitting there misbehaving and picking their nose, watching Leslie Crowther. And if that's not entertainment, I don't know what is.
Jordan Pickford's wife got stuck at JFK Airport, not JFK Airport, that's something else altogether. JFK Airport for 24 hours after a flight was cancelled on the runway.
Did feel for her with the kids.
I hate this. Megan 30 was on the plane for 6 hours
with
the kids, 3 children.
3 children on a plane for 6 hours, young kids.
Really, really bad, isn't it?
Not good. Anyway, still to come this afternoon, we will be chatting to Jim Rosenthal. He'll be joining us for a chat, reuniting or Kevin Keegan and Alex Ferguson for the first time after that famous I love it moment that Kevin had.
I know I didn't mention to you. I watched the piano last night. I know this is going to do. I guarantee that you're going to do this. And the guest judge on the piano was Jamie Cullum.
Jamie Cullum, of course he was.
Norah Jones. You can't not do it, can you?
Norah Jones, Michael Bublé. Now, this Saturday, Anthony Joshua's comeback starts as he faces Christian Prenga. I'm sure we'll be building up to it as the week unfolds here on talkSPORT. So let's look ahead to the big fight now with DAZN.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. Anthony Joshua's comeback starts this Saturday as he faces Christian Prenga. Watch only on DAZN Saturday Fight Night.
I heard Crookie chatting earlier on to Adam Catron about it, and I heard Barry Hearn chatting about it as well. And it is going to be an emotional night for him. It's the first time he's been back in the ring, isn't it, since he lost his friends in a terrible accident. And I think people have said in boxing before that until they get back into the ring and they're compared for things that can happen in a private life or whatever, you won't know till that moment, will he? Whether he's still got the hunger, the purpose, the desire to do it. So it is a huge fight for him. This, I mean, purely.
Who's Christian Prenga? I'm not a great boxing expert.
Well, he's got a pretty impressive knockout record, but he's not fought anybody of AJ's quality. And realistically, in his first comeback fight, no one's going to risk. Although, having said that, I don't think it particularly would risk a Tyson Fury fight, whatever happened. But you expect him to win the fight. But it's just how he feels about it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, was it Barry who was saying? Barry Hearn said he's never known him so motivated. He's just can't wait to get back in there.
Yeah, so it could work either way, couldn't it? Like that? It's interesting.
And doing it, in their memory, of course. And so we shall see. It should be a fascinating fight with a lot riding on it. We'll learn a lot from it, even though we expect Anthony Joshua to get over the line. But that was our look ahead to AJ versus Prenga with DAZN. You can join DAZN Ultimate for 185 plus fight nights and 12 plus pay-per-views
every year, including Joshua Prenga, all included at no extra cost. Buy now at DAZN, DAZN.com.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. This Saturday, it's danger before destiny for Anthony Joshua. Joshua versus Prenga, live exclusively on DAZN.
It's Hawksbee and Jacobs here on talkSPORT, and we will be chatting to our US football expert, Brian Sciaretta, very shortly. As we said, the dust has settled a little bit after the World Cup. What's his expectations now for the future of the game there? There's been a lot of big pronouncements saying that, it's going to be huge for soccer and football in the States. Let's see what Brian makes of it all. We're talking Brian Beckham, still very much alive and kicking, actually making more money than ever. And Jim Rosenthal on that Fergie, Kevin Keegan moment. That's all to come. We're here with our good friends at Toolstation, open from 7 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Grab what you need, get on site, get it done. First stop, Toolstation.
And a half minutes was how long halftime was. That's a disgrace in and of itself. We know that. We know it's a load of tosh. But if you're going to make football showbiz, at least do it well. They started with a clearly pre-recorded Madonna song.
Oh, yeah.
I know. It was like Mario Kart Double Dash with Ronaldo just sat there smiling. And they've had Justin Bieber playing a song nobody knows with a guitar that's not tuned properly. And then, we don't mind a bit of Shakira, really, but Shakira was the only highlight. But we could have had that in a 15 minute
decent. Although Burna Boy was trying to get a bit too close, you know what I mean? He's trying to get a wine. He's only
and also the irony of having the Muppets puppets there.
Oh, what was that about?
In Gianni Infantino's World Cup halftime.
They've overdone it, didn't they?
It was shocking, absolutely shocking. The whole Spain saved it.
Yeah.
Because it was a dark day for football until Ferran Torres, the absolute beauty, came up.
And let's talk about. Hold on. We've got to talk about at the end when they're lifting up the trophy. What's Donald Trump? What's Donald Trump doing? Like, he's trying to get a photo up again. He tried to do it with Chelsea, like in the Club World Cup. Now he's trying to do it at the World Cup. Trying to be. Listen, and then Infantino, whatever his name is, Gianni. Yeah. He's there scrambling across with his white trainers and suit on, yeah? With his white train, unforgivable clubber.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Hawksbee and Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Troy Deeney will be with you alongside Andy Goldstein at 4 o'clock. We're driving all the big transfer stories of the day discussed from 7 with Sam Allard and Ben Jacobs in the Transfer Insiders. Bayoak and Fem was back with Max Scott tonight here on talkSPORT for a sports bar as well from 10. But we're going to talk about the World Cup now. As we said, the circus has left town as far as the USA is concerned. So what lasting legacy does our American football expert Brian Sciaretta expect? Hiya, Brian.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, pleasure.
What's your view overall now? Now we've had the final and everything's moved on. How are you viewing it as someone who loves football?
I think it was a great tournament. I mean, there was a lot of games. It was front and center of the media here for 6 weeks, and it got everything it needed. Probably another win by the U.S. team would have helped, but overall, I think you can't complain. I think it served its purpose, and we'll see how it goes going forward. I mean, it's going to be interesting how it only resonates with diehards and people who already love the sport enough. Like, it's not going to really be much of a change, but it's a question of how to inspire the next generation of people, and we'll figure that out in the years to come.
A lot of people are saying the fact it was a kind of very low scoring final. If people only just took in the final, it would have.
That would be a shame because it was the worst game of the tournament.
It would have fed into a lot of prejudices that American sports fans have, of course, on football being a fairly dull and low scoring game.
I thought it was a much better final than '94, to be honest with you. The Italy and Brazil were locked into a stalemate till it got to a shootout. I think most people, if you were just tuning in just to watch the final, I mean, I think you were. I don't think that's the kind of people who are going to stick around regardless of how good the final was. I think it was people who were captivated over the course of the month and a half, probably like what they saw. I think that was a lot of people. I think it was great. I mean, it was some games were better than others, but that's how it always is.
Of course, absolutely. So, I mean, the plus is one of the things that came across from everybody that went to the States, be it working there or fans, the welcome they got from people in the average American person, the general American, not what you read about on social media, and that really came across. I think from that point of view, America had a great World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think if all you got was like what your impression online, I think you're going to be disappointed in a lot of aspects in life. I mean, I think it's not a real accurate reflection on how every place is as a society and everything. And I think Americans were really excited to welcome the world for the World Cup. And I think it was in that respect, it was great. I mean, where I live in New Jersey, the Moroccan and Brazil teams had their headquarters, and we all enjoyed it.
The minuses, of course, sorry, Paul, the political influence, Donald Trump and the Balogun thing and even the trophy thing, that wasn't great, was it, really?
I mean, it depends on who you ask. I don't think that those things kind of, those things, like the politicians we have in this country are so embedded in our life, like we're just kind of used to it. So I don't think that changes anything anyway. I mean, I'm used to seeing heads of states at sporting events. I'm used to seeing Donald Trump at sporting events since the 80s. He's always been like that long before he was president. So it's just you roll with that and you tune it out. You tune it in if you like it. You tune it out if you don't. I don't think it's a big thing.
I think it'll be interesting to see because MLS has got underway again, hasn't it? So it'll be interesting to see if we see an increase in crowds or maybe a newer audience. I'm sure people will be out there doing the clubs will be asking people coming along whether they're sort of nouveau football fans. If it can grow the fan base, that could be something, couldn't it?
Yeah, that's what we're all looking for here. I mean, I remember in '94 the league didn't even exist until '96. So, it's moving from there. I think the league's in a good place anyway. I mean, we're averaging 22,000 people a game before this. That's good. I think getting out behind there was an Apple TV paywall before this, and now people can watch the games if all they have is an Apple TV account, which is a huge percentage of the population. Look, I think it's good. I think it's going to help in Canada. It's going to help in the United States, and we'll go from there. But it's in a good spot anyway. So it's going to be interesting where they go from there and the kind of players that they attract to come here.
What's the latest on Pochettino? I mean, is the feeling that they want him to stay? And would you?
They want him to stay. The question is whether or not he agrees to that. I think if he takes the job with the U.S. for another 4 years, he's away from the club game for 6 years, and kind of part of me just thinks that that's very unlikely for him to want to walk away from the club game for 6 years. I mean, that's kind of I think where his heart was. I think this was a good temporary gig, to try it. But I always thought he was going to go back to the club game. There's no indication yet. U.S. Soccer's made an offer. He says he's going to decide this week. But I just anticipate personally him going back to the club game.
And is there any obvious candidate to take over, Brian, if he does decide not to?
No, my impression would be that they would roll with an interim manager probably through the rest of the year. And then 2027 is when they kind of have their own person. They'll probably look for, I know some people who want it. There's some people floating ideas that maybe Thierry Henry or Roberto Martinez come in, and those are just two random names that people have been mentioned, but I don't necessarily give that much credence to that.
No, it'll be interesting to see if he does. I wonder if
David Beckham.
Well, I wonder if David Beckham. Well, David Beckham. There's the thought. I mean, he's a busy man. We're about to talk about him. Well, do you think he'd be a popular choice, David Beckham?
No, I think he kind of likes the celebrity. I think if you're going to go back to a foreign player, a guy who has ties here, Henry would be a more likely of a candidate. But like Beckham, I think likes his current role right now with Inter Miami, and I don't think getting involved with the first time head coaching job is to replace Mauricio Pochettino with the national team. I don't think that sets anybody up well.
Brian, good to talk to you. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you very much.
There's Brian Sciaretta there, football expert over in the States. And I wonder if Scaloni has more or less said he'll kind of carry on to the end of the year.
Oh, right.
I saw some reports saying he'll stay to December, then we'll...
Yeah, I think he's in line for the Corinthian Casuals job, I'd say, actually. He's such a great sport.
Did they get the FIFA Fair Play Award? Do they still do the Fair Play Award? Remember that?
Yeah.
They did that thing for years, didn't they? That was the 98
I don't think
World
they'll
Cup.
be getting it.
They used to, I mean, that would be the ultimate revenge of Infantino to give the Fair Play Award to Argentina. They do those sort of slow-mo replays of a kind of fair play moment where players shook hands or another player picked another player up. And then they put up the old FIFA Fair Play banner. They seem to have done away with that.
Yeah.
Haven't they?
Have.
I wonder if
I don't know why.
Pochettino would be interested in the Argentina job. I think it's just a bit too politically charged, isn't it, to do that
that's
job?
Interesting thought, yeah.
You probably, the expectation is you'd probably have to go back to Argentina to do it. I don't think Brian's right. It's a long time out of club management. I think that's where he sees probably his future. I don't know, but we shall see. Jim Rosenthal joining us for a chat in the next half hour. And funny enough, we're going to talk about Beckham next. One of the big winners of this World Cup was on, I think, 10 to 12 ads, some around beekeeping, some around drinking beer, and nobody seemed to mind. They were all quite happy that he was doing 9 other ads, despite the amount of money they were paying him. So Mark Bukowski is a PR expert and has been keeping a pretty close eye on David Beckham and the brand, if you like. But it's still as strong as ever. We'll look at some of the reasons why with Mark very, very shortly.
You said we should respect Argentina as the holders. Do you still respect them after their performance in the final?
Why do you, Alex?
Well, they played like a bunch of thugs. Even
Alex,
the scenes at full time, they were laying punches on celebrating Spanish.
Yeah, of course. I don't like that. Of course, that is what they do. They leave a bit on everybody. And then, of course, at the end, maybe their true mentality comes through and you see them as people.
Look at that picture on the screen now for those watching on YouTube. Is that what you want to see at the end of a World Cup final?
No, Paredes, I simply don't. What I would like to see is, look, if I'm honest, I wanted to see Messi do something in that game. I think the Spanish, though, throughout have been magnificent. I think they only conceded 1 goal throughout the whole tournament. They proved, they kill you with 1,000 cuts. Their passing's magnificent. Rodri's, whether he's the player of the tournament, it's certainly been a magnificent turnaround from him, from Man City. But, look, they'll have to take a good look at themselves. I think the referee was doing the best he possibly could in difficult circumstances.
Because he could have got the yellow card out a lot earlier, but that would have in itself ruin the game, wouldn't it, if he started chucking out bookings?
Well, why didn't he do that? I think he could have made.
He was trying to manage the game. I think he knew that inevitably an Argentinian player
They were
would have
getting
to be
away,
sent off.
but they were getting away with this against England, and nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And you reflect on that. Look, they once they stopped being physical against England and decided to play some football, we couldn't live with them. We have to accept that, but we need to build on it. And that's what will happen now. We'll go away. Manager will learn from it. I think really, in the teams that I've played in, playing under Arsene Wenger particularly was helped me to be free in my mind that you attack. That's the best form of defence. Is it an English thing to say that, it's in our DNA that we want to sit off, we don't want to attack? He did say this when he took the job. I think that's incorrect, actually.
Every spring, sports fans in Europe come together to celebrate arguably rugby's biggest annual tournament, the Six Nations. But why is it the home nations, plus France and Italy, and no one else? It all started back in 1871 when Scotland beat England in the very first international rugby match. A few years later, when they could field a team, Wales decided they'd host England and an idea was thought up. With Ireland keen, they formed the Home International Championship, which ran from 1883. In 1910, France was allowed to join, as they were developing into a serious rugby nation, and thus the Five Nations was born. France had an interesting history with the championship. They were actually booted out for paying their players in 1931, when the home nations were keen to keep it amateur. After World War II, though, France were let back in, but it remained a closed shop for more than 50 years. And when another country was let in, it was only really because the Five Nations hand had been forced. Italy was developing into a serious contender, beating Scotland, France and Ireland twice in the same year, meaning in 1999 officials got together and said yes to Italy, and it became the Six Nations. So what changes, if any, come next? 7 nations? 8? A promotion and relegation system? Or should we leave it alone and let it remain the great rugby tradition it's become?
Bit later on, Jim Rosenthal will be joining us with his memories of Kevin Keegan. It was Jim that around Euro 96 at Wembley got Kevin and Alex Ferguson together shortly after the season ended, of course, and we had the I'd love it moment in the tunnel. But Jim will join us and, of course, work with Kevin at ITV. But at this World Cup, I think it's fair to say David Beckham has been ubiquitous. He's been at most of the games suited up, as we've seen. Very smart.
Yeah, very smart,
with and without the family. He's been on 12 ads. Here we go. I'll give them all a mention. Other brands are available. Stella Artois, Home Depot, Adidas, Lay's, Walkers, Lenovo.
Lay's and Walkers.
Lay's and Walkers.
That's a bit of a conflict of interest, isn't it?
It would appear both were happy for him to do it. Lay's and Walkers.
One bag of Lay's, one bag of Walkers.
Yeah, one in each hand. Yeah. McDonald's, Ninja Kitchen, Pepsi, Verizon, Bank of America, and Major League Soccer.
Right.
So this is 20 years on from actually playing competitive football in his 50s. He was just everyone, because one of his loves, beekeeping, was in the Home Depot ad, popped up, and as you said, Andy, whenever he popped up on the screen,
people were cheering. I don't actually get it. I mean, he was a great player, and he's a very good-looking man. But there are a lot of other great players and other good-looking men. I don't quite know why this has happened to him.
I just think we're hoping to ask our expert about that very shortly, Mark Bukowski. We're just trying to get a line through from. We've got Mark with us. That's the question then. Why him, I suppose? Mark is a top PR expert and consultant. Hiya, Mark.
Afternoon.
So, look, 20 years after he stopped playing, there he is, 12 adverts. They reckon he's earned, 25 million plus from this World Cup. What is it about him as a PR expert that is kind of enduring?
Well, he at the height of his football career, he looked at that sort of fame and that adoration, and he turned himself into a brand. The Beckhams are now a dynasty. If you remember back at the time, he was getting a lot of criticism for many of the sort of commercial deals he did. I think Alex Ferguson was quite annoyed what he was turning into. He had very smart advice. And he sees himself as a brand. In fact, Posh Spice, Victoria Beckham said was a profound influence on that. He in terms of what she once said, is I want to be more famous and personal automatic. So the family had a very keen sense of the direction. So he moved from football to fashion icon. He then became a statesman. Let's not forget the effort he put into getting the Olympics here. And actually, if you looked at his appearances, with a camera flashing at him at various points in during the games, it was no different from Infantino. It was no different from Tom Cruise. It's no different from all the other celebrities there. You know, he is a brand, and therefore acts like a brand, and he has a family dynasty. So he pivoted so far away from football. Real Madrid days. He now is a franchise holder in terms of Inter Miami. He's a $1 billion brand.
What would have happened if he'd married the sort of childhood sweetheart from Hyams Park and not one of the Spice Girls? Would he have been as big, you think?
No, I don't think so. I think that's one of those sliding door moments, isn't it? What if? Don't forget, they were both at the beginning of their journey to fame. She was in the biggest boy band in the world. I think it gave him access to the people who could turn him into that sort of brand. And let's it is absolutely the truth that, in fact, all the sort of people who have surrounded him have taken a percentage, of his earnings. And you only get the best people if you're earning that sort of money. So that 20 or whatever percent it is means a lot of money to them. Anybody who succeeds in this world need great people around them: lawyers, managers, agents, publicists, stylists. And you only attract the best if you can afford it, or there's an investment worth having. But sure, if you met his childhood sweetheart and girl next door, let's not. He was an incredible talent, and let's not forget the Simeone moment. When supposedly single-handedly he got sent off and lost England that game against the Argentinians, and he was a public enemy number one. He's come back from that, and if you look at how modern comms channels like Instagram, has helped him in terms of carrying on that sort of narrative. Yeah, they've got a few family issues at the moment with Brooklyn, but they're out as a unit. And, it's a phenomenal success story.
I wanted to ask you about it. Can I just ask about the Brooklyn thing?
Yeah,
because
I was about to.
I'm sure as a family they hate it on a personal level. But in terms of keeping the brand, it's like a bit of a pot boiler, this sort of fallout with the eldest son and the sort of tit for tat stuff that they've both been kind of getting involved with. It kind of keeps it's good for the brand, but probably not great for the family.
No, trust me, it's not the sort of publicity they enjoy. It's not. I mean, it might give momentum, but it's the wrong type of publicity. Look, every family issues, but if you're famous, it becomes a curse, because every bit of your soap opera of a life is dissected in public. They're not enjoying this, and they're not enjoying the lack of unity, and they're not enjoying the relationship that he has with Nicola Peltz. and she comes from uber rich old American money as well. He can do whatever he wants. No, I think that every headline that Brooklyn creates, which he seems to be doing at the moment, is a dagger to both Victoria and David.
The letter was so damning that where he made the point, and people have picked up on it, that, it's like a 3-line whip. They've all got to be out in force. And when you see them, that it does look that way.
Well, it's a dynasty, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, this is an empire. This is a dynastic empire that they've all got to be folded into this. Even the daughter now is supposedly going to sort of helm some big fashion brand. You become addicted to that fame. I mean, an old American movie publicist once told me, and I sort of live by that, said, if God wants to curse you, makes you rich and famous. And I think it is a curse.
That's very interesting.
He's actually sold some of his brand, hasn't he? He sold a big chunk of it to a company that have actually mainly dealt in sort of posthumously with brands like Elvis and Marilyn Monroe. So he's sort of signed away, a bit like a lot of musicians have been doing, but he's signed away part of his brand. How does that work?
Well, it's a you are looking at the future. You're looking at legacy payments. You're looking about controlling that. I mean, I think most A-list public figures even know now technology can make you live long after you've cast off this mortal coil. So it's not just those 3 names which are iconic, but everybody in sport and entertainment, if they're famous, will have done some sort of deal or would be doing that sort of deal, really because of tech and because of how much value they've created in their living years. It means a lot more, perhaps potentially, who knows what technology is going to do. We're seeing all these artificial intelligent sort of platforms. You're seeing the rise of LLMs, large language models. You're seeing technology now that sort of will bring people back alive, that sort of dead. I think, remember, there was a very famous Fred Astaire commercial with VW, was Sitting in the Rain. If you look at that, that was 25 years ago. I mean, what you can do now, 25 years later, it boggles the imagination.
Thomas Tuchel, finally, he's taken a lot of flack for the defeat against Argentina. Would you, as a PR expert and reputation expert, advise him to sort of reconsider his view that basically it was nothing to do with him and it wasn't his fault?
Bit of mea culpa, does that go down well? It seems to go down well with the British public. Maybe it's a cultural thing. He hasn't kind of got hold of the fact we do like an apology.
Well, Tuchel is fascinating because I'm not sure the German media are a big fan of his, and I think I'm no German speaker, but from people I've talked to, his tone that he uses in interviews in Germany and actually the way he conducts himself is much more sharper, much more aggressive. But here he's got a completely different tone of which way he does it, but he's doubling down. He's being Trump-like. He's thinking like Trump. I'm not going to admit any mistakes. I'm going to, blame everybody around me. And I thought I was very interested in the way he communicated after, I think maybe was it the Mexican game, where Gabriel Clark sort of extracted that, the team didn't play enough, well enough. To a certain extent, I saw that as him protecting his own rep, sort of becoming blameless through the whole exercise. I mean, he's a brilliant communicator. He's not a bad manager. He obviously did make mistakes. We all saw that. But in his whole head, in his bubble, he'd made no mistakes. And you've got to have a lot of self-belief to succeed because, the slings and arrows coming at you for being England manager or any manager now in the game, come with a poisonous barb.
Absolutely.
You can be a hero one day and you're over the next.
Indeed. Mark, a pleasure as always. Thanks very much.
Very good.
Great speech, you guys. Bye.
Mark Bukowski, their PR expert and consultant on Beckham and Tuchel. Jim Rosenthal joining us, the man who brought Kevin Keegan and Alex Ferguson together after Kevin's infamous "I'd Love It" rant. He'll be giving us his memories of Kevin, who sadly we lost yesterday, and that's coming up shortly. We're here with our very good friends at Toolstation. First stop for everything for the job from 7 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Start strong, start it right. First stop, Toolstation.
I've got to get your opinion because Wayne Rooney delivered quite a withering assessment of it on TV last night. That halftime show, 27 minutes. Now, first of all, from a player's perspective, you're playing in a World Cup final. You're used to 15-minute halftime, particularly as you mentioned, the veteran stage of your career. Lionel Messi, for example, when maybe your joint sees up a little bit more than they would do normally. Is it fair on the players to have to wait 27 minutes so we can see a pre-recorded song by Madonna, we can see Shakira come out and mime, and we can see Justin Bieber come out and suck the life out of the entire stadium?
Do you know, like FIFA, to stay true to the values of the game, if it's a 15-minute break in all the other World Cups, it should be a 15-minute break in this one. That's where they've gone too far. The water break as well will be thrown out. It's an Americanized, World Cup.
It was to sell adverts.
Yeah. Well, I don't care what it was for, but it was changing the momentum of games. It was giving managers an opportunity to stitch in information at vital times in the game. Now, look, I put myself in the mind of the players. And when are we listening to the halftime team talk? Are we going straight in to listen to the manager? When it's a rousing team talk, we've got to wait 20 minutes before we then, he actually gets into it.
The subs can't even go and warm up on the pitch because it's covered with
you can't warm up. What are we doing? How are we keeping those muscles and minds, turning over for half an hour? It is something they would have in the biggest game of their lives, by the way. Look, as a person who watched it, the game started late, so I nipped out to the local pub and I didn't miss the start. That was great. I had my dinner during the halftime break, so it was fantastic for the fan, but it doesn't help the competitors.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Coming up at 4 o'clock, Andy Goldstein, Troy Deeney would drive. Before that, though, again, we're paying tribute to Kevin Keegan, who died yesterday. And, of course, we've already talked and everybody has been discussing some of the great moments, the iconic moments in Kevin's career. And one of them was the I'd Love It chat to Sky when he was very unhappy with Sir Alex Ferguson and some things that had been said. But it was our next guest, Jim Rosenthal, who around Euro 96 brought them back together up at Wembley. And we're going to play you a little bit of that now. If you're watching on YouTube, on Smart TV, you'll be able to see it. Otherwise, I think it certainly comes across in the listening. So let's just bring you a brief extract from that chat.
Well, nice to see the two of you down here together. And have you kissed and made up?
Well, Alex is very lucky because it's been 20 years ago when I watched Donny Rovers, I used to have one of these and they were made of wood. But for safety standards now, they're made of plastic. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, all right.
He gave me a lovely kiss last night and...
You bought me a drink?
Well, he's never bought me one anyway, so what's new?
But all in the heat of the moment and all forgotten now, and a great championship to look forward to here.
Yeah, so he had one of these old football rattles, but was made of foam, and he was talking about he might have clumped him over the head with it. But they were all smiles, they had their arms
Quite
round each
typical
other.
Fergie too, like out of the heat of the battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jim Rosenthal, you're there conducting that interview. Hello, Jim.
Probably wasn't the most incisive piece of interviewing I've done in my life, but but it all worked. And look, those two guys were going to be on the ITV panel for Euro '96. So it might not have taken a huge amount of persuading us to get them together. But yeah, and Kevin had the plastic rattle, not the wooden one. And at the end of the interview, he put his hands around Alex's throat as well. But look, I think. Listen, they'd made it up long beforehand, and the old master Alex Ferguson had played a managerial stroke, and he triumphed in the end. I think actually he'd had two granddaughters born that morning as well, which probably helped his mood, as well. So listen, I couldn't go wrong. Just hold a microphone in front of them, and off they went.
Were you a bit apprehensive when you got the assignment to interview them together?
Not really, because I think I knew them both very, very well indeed. And as you said just before, and he didn't. Neither of them had their game faces on there. Very different characters, and it was. What was the point in prolonging the grudge, if you like? So they were there, and they're not going to come from me, are they? Really, I don't think so. So it was. It all worked out. It all worked out pretty well. And over the years, subsequently, I've remained, I can say, friends with them both.
You probably interviewed Kevin as a player and then worked with him on ITV when he was on the panel as a pundit and a co-commentator.
Yeah, I mean, that interview was at Wembley. I can remember coming away from the 1971 FA Cup final when Arsenal completed the double. And I bought a paper, and there's a little paragraph in it, which they used to have, no longer, of course, a little paragraph in the stop press at the back. Liverpool paid £35,000 to Scunthorpe to sign Kevin Keegan, and that was the start of it all. He was just, and listen, he played a little game of football in France '98 with all the ITV crew and everything, and was absolutely fantastic there. Off they went for a meal. Who picked up the tab at the end? Kevin Keegan. He had that infectious enthusiasm about, and I think all the people that you've had on talkSPORT and elsewhere, very, very few, if any, I've got a critical word to say about him.
What about as a pundit, Jim? He kind of always, did you always sense in that transition from sort of playing that and management that he'd go down that route?
I wasn't sure which way he would go, if I'm honest with you. I mean, at one stage before the 1982 World Cup, he did a marvellous documentary with Brian Moore when he was in Germany, and he said he had an ambition. He wanted to lift the World Cup for England in '82, and that was him done with football. He wanted to go into politics, would you believe? And of course, he wanted to be Prime Minister. So I wasn't never quite sure which way he would go, but all I was convinced about is that anybody who knew Kevin, whichever path he took, he would give it 110%. He never did anything half-cock. I think that was his great endearing quality. And we both did our last World Cup through ITV in 2010 in South Africa. I think as a pundit, he didn't hold much back. You knew you were getting the truth. You knew you were getting it from the heart from Kevin Keegan.
Were you working that day when he decided to sort of leave the England job?
Yeah, I wasn't actually. I saw the game and I wasn't there. And I think that did come as a surprise when he resigned in the toilets at Wembley, didn't he? I think that. But I think that's one thing I found out. Yeah, about once he made his mind up, that was him done. That was you very rarely be able to pull him to one side and persuade him to do anything different. And you've been talking here about Brown, Beckham, etc., etc. I mean, without all the people behind him that Beckham has, Keegan was massive.
Yeah, absolutely
massive. And when he went to Germany and won there with Hamburg, huge. He really was huge, a huge brand. And of course, loved in Liverpool, loved at Newcastle, loved at Fulham, wherever he's gone. The outpouring of affection for Kevin has been massive.
Again, there's parallels there, isn't he? He did lots of TV ads for different things. He was in the Greek Cross Code ads and Sugar Puffs and.
The old brute with Henry Cooper. Of course he did. But I think with him, he never chased money. He never chased the dollar. Never chased the pound. But the money found him, and he always prioritised his football when he was playing. Always did that. And he had a lovely sense of humour. I know he loved that bit of graffiti that was up in Liverpool. Jesus saves, Keegan nets the rebound. I know he loved that, and we all did.
There was that moment, wasn't there, with Brian Moore, which was very un-Brian Moore-like when, there was even, a podcast with Josh Whittaker and Chris Gold. Quickly, Kevin Willie score. I wonder, he was kind of slightly put on offer that day by Brian, wasn't he?
Quite a famous
the
moment.
David Batty penalty.
Well, that was the Batty penalty. I mean, common with everybody else that saw David Batty, who had many strengths. I think the first penalty he's ever taken, pretty much in that decider. And Brian regretted that line to his dying day. Quickly, Kevin Willie score, and talk about being thrown under the bus. I mean, it was one of those things where there was no filter for Brian, and he regretted it. Kevin never bore a grudge about it. Of course he didn't. But it was one of those. As soon as he said it, and you thought, oh my gosh, what's he done there? What's he done there? And of course, Batty missed. And very good podcast, by the way, that as well. It was, which I did make a little appearance on that many years ago.
There was, funny enough, you say that didn't bear a grudge. I think it was Graham Hunter, the Spanish football expert, was tweeting earlier on. He wrote something that Kevin didn't like, and Kevin let him know. And then he went to an event and he saw Kevin a little while afterwards. And there was a bit of trepidation, Graham said, because he didn't know what sort of reaction. And it was like it had never happened. Like he'd moved on. He was magnanimous enough to forget it, and sort of not bearing a grudge is a great quality, isn't it?
I think he had that in him, and I think I always go with football managers when in his day at 20-5 you'd have to tear into a player and whatever, but then you'd have to have them back on a Monday morning, have them training and try and get the best out of them. And I think Kevin had that. He would let you know for sure. He would let you know if he wasn't happy, and he would claim people if he wasn't happy. But as far as I know, lifetime grudges, I don't think he bore many of those.
Yeah, and it was he announced a few weeks ago that he was very, very ill. Had you been in touch recently, Jim?
Well, I had tried, and nothing came back. But I know he's got events booked. He's got one not far from where I live at Wycombe Wanderers in a couple of months' time. So it came as like everybody. I did know he was unwell, but it came as a shock. But Keegan's one of those people that I think I'm so glad that I crossed paths with him in my life, really. But it's a passing of an absolute footballing giant, and he was. And he made the most out of not very much. He was ever so small. He wasn't even the best 20 players in Doncaster when he was 11 and 12 and things like that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And he just worked and worked and worked, and went to play in Germany. First thing he did, learn the language. And he was many things, Kevin. He was not stupid, and the affection, all the messages that have come back from Germany about him just underline what a magnificent human being he was. And I would obviously like also all the condolences to Gene and the family as well.
Jim, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, guys. Always a pleasure. Take care.
Yes, Jim Rosenthal recalling.
You mentioned that documentary I talked about yesterday. It is well worth
checking. With Brian Moore. Yeah, you should go and check that out. Well, that is us. It'll be Charlie and Max with you tomorrow from 1 o'clock. Stick around now, though. Coming up next, Andy Goldstein has got Troy Deeney alongside him for Drive. Have a good evening.
Let's talk Morgan Rogers. Obviously, Middlesbrough will be quite happy as well, Crookie.
Yeah, I think they get 15 million quid there or thereabouts from their sell-on.
Yeah.
This is a move that's come somewhat out of the blue, because I've felt for the last few weeks the direction of travel was that Morgan Rogers ends up at Arsenal. I know that his advisors have been in talks with Arsenal for quite a few weeks now, but I'm not sure that Arsenal